everyone. Hi, everyone. Hello. Hello. Alrighty. For the second stream today, that would be cool to do like instead of a marathon that's a single stream, do a marathon of individual streams. I think that could be cool. What's up? What's up? What's up, everybody? I can't start a goal. I don't know why. I don't know. It's not letting me start a goal, so it's on you guys. Anyway, that was fun. Shout out to DPH. I was hoping that Marty Leaves would actually call in, but it didn't happen. All right, today's stream is about a guy, young guy. He's basically like, you guys remember Ask Yourself? Total autistic logic nerd. He's like that, but for Rome. And he's a smart kid. He's smart. But, the first time I saw him, he actually called into Jay, and I'm gonna review some of that, how that went, and why Jay has the ability to just kind of skip through all the nonsense and just go to the undercutting defeaters, and that's why Jay gets frustrated so quickly. Because he already sees ahead of where the person's going, and he just goes, let's get just to the end, right? Let's just take the speed rail, okay? So he does it with this kid, and it completely destroys his argument. Now, I saw this kid last night, and he's up against some silly atheist chick. Not a huge contender. Still kind of wiped the floor with her, but I wanted to actually address his angle of argument and why it's flawed. It's going to be super flawed. Now, obviously, these are new up-and-comers, right? So they're very promising. That's always going to exist. There's going to be a new face, on the scene who's good at what they do. I think he's a better choice than that other autistic dude who just has food on his face. I don't know why they went with him. If I were going to do marketing for them, for Rome, I would have, capturing Christianity. He brought up that super awkward guy who's disheveled, way too close to the camera. And they had this guy all along. So there's that. Thank you, Meg Bob, for the goal. All right. So, we'll just get right into it. This is him calling into Jay, and you can watch how Jay kind of handles this the same way he handles it every time, which is kind of like he does a big sigh, like, oh, so dumb. And then he just skips to the end. Okay. Let's just get to the end of it, shall we? Gets called and exposed. Okay, that's this. Okay, here we go. All right. So he wants to avoid where he's at. Let's see if I'll put this on 1.25 just for our own sake of sanity.
When the divine essence is communicated to him, he's not receiving the fullness of what is in the divine nature, and so that would mean that he is.
Okay, so does the Holy Spirit receive spiration as well because he has the fullness of divine nature?
Yeah, so that's where the distinction between principium quo remotum and principium quo proximum, or for people who don't speak Latin.
Where is that?
Stop speaking Latin, dude.
Okay? Who made this distinction before Thomas Aquinas or the Latin Church? Where is that in the Cappadocians?
Well, again,
does it exist? Does it exist? Okay.
It's a logical distinction.
No, it's a distinction. No, it's a distinction invented to protect and defend your model. So I'm asking if it existed prior to the Middle Ages.
Yeah, I don't think I could give you a specific.
So you don't know?
Well, yeah, I would say sure. I don't know. I'm willing to admit that, but you have to let me at least explain the distinction first before you just say, hey, we can't.
No, you're coming up with a distinction to where it gives the impression that it's for the Son to have full.
This is old. No, not that old. A couple weeks, tops.
Divinity requires that he has the ability to spirate, and now when I say, okay, well then does the Holy Spirit also generate and spirate? Your answer is, you see, there's this distinction.
Well, no, it's the same reason that the Son doesn't beget another Son. That's the only distinction that I was going to make, is because the principium quo proximum terminates within the person of the Son.
What's up, Intel?
So where does that come from?
What do you mean, where does it come from?
You just asserted that. Where do you get that from?
Because the Son doesn't beget more sons. You would agree with that?
Why not? You're just asserting the position. I'm saying, why couldn't he? Why am I supposed to assume that dogmatic assertion is true? This is what Thomists do. You guys just assert shit.
No,
why are you laughing?
You would agree. Yeah,
it doesn't matter whether I agree.
See, it's already over right there. We agree. That's like saying, okay, we just agree. We agree. No. That's the whole point, dude. Jay's job isn't to figure out where you agree and then just go, oh, we agree. This is the problem with this philosophy. Self-evident truth. Oh, we agree. Oh, you're going to deny? Oh, it's not Jay's system, guy. Now, he thought he would come in here. I don't know why he thought this. Jay's already grumpy right now. He's already done this a million times, and the guy calls in expecting Jay to just grant him what we, quote, already agree on insofar as the Trinity is concerned. Why? What do you mean?
It doesn't matter. I'm asking your position.
This is how we logically conclude.
Why should I accept that that's the logical conclusion without you just asserting it?
Because we're both Trinitarians.
It doesn't matter what my position is.
Because we're both Trinitarians. Yeah. Let's pick out all the heterodox people who are just Trinitarians, and we'll just start with that. No, bruh.
See, my position has nothing to. It's irrelevant to what you're arguing. Why are you talking about my position when you're arguing your Thomist position? So what if my position agrees or disagrees? It's irrelevant to the argument you're making.
So let me just clarify. You want me to?
How does it terminate, and why? Why am I supposed to accept that assertion? That's what I'm saying. You Thomist.
Because it's the object of the divine action that's being completed.
Okay, so more Thomist. Why am I supposed to accept the Thomist? Why am I supposed to accept the? Why am I? You're not giving me the reason why you're asserting the position again. Why am I supposed to accept that this Thomist model is the right model for answering this question?
Yeah, so I was about to explain that, and would you let me just finish the point?
You have to answer the question and not give me the assertion again. No, you're not. Again, you guys don't understand epistemology. You think that just asserting positions is giving me the reason why I ought to accept the Thomist dogma. Why?
Well, no, obviously we have the same epistemology. So
No, we don't.
We don't. What are you talking about? We do absolutely do not.
Now, I don't know why this guy just aggressive, right? He's running with his wave of popularity now or something. Why would he assume that he has the same epistemology as Orthodox? Why would he assume that? Now, you're going to see in this next thing, after this is wrapped up, this little exchange with this chick, who's just a low-tier atheist, like the lowest low tier. He actually argues, now, he argues outside of a revelatory epistemic system, and you'll see why it collapses.
We have the fathers in the church. We can
No, I do not. I've spent 10 years arguing against your epistemology. We do not have the same epistemology. You have a classical foundationalist model of epistemology. I do not. That's why I debated Trent Horn against natural theology. I reject your whole system and paradigm.
Okay. How about you let me?
What do you mean, okay? That's what's so annoying. He doesn't even listen to what Jay's saying. Okay, I'm just going to get to the next thing. You autist. Did you hear what he said? He doesn't even acknowledge it. Okay. I am a classical foundationalist and you're not. We don't share the same epistemology. But by the way, can you just adopt my epistemology for my argument? No.
Let me say the point that I'm trying to make, and then you can tell me afterwards.
No, because you can keep yapping and filibustering and not answering the question. I'm asking you an epistemic question. Why should I accept the Thomistic account of that question when I don't accept Thomism? And you said, well, you have the same type of position, the same epistemology. No, I don't. So those are not acceptable answers.
Yeah,
Can you answer the question why I ought to accept the Thomistic metaphysical dogmas that you push?
We can
why?
If you want. I'm just trying to.
Why? No, you're not. You were not. No, you were answering my objection by just stating the Thomist position. So now it shifts into an epistemic question of why ought I accept the Thomist position and model.
Okay, let me
Let's do that. Let's do that because that's where it goes.
We can use just Cappadocian fathers, okay?
I don't think you have the right interpretation of the Cappadocians. Let's go to the. So the debate has shifted to the Cappadocian. So I don't believe you interpret them correctly. I believe in paradigms. You don't understand. You didn't give any interpretation of the Cappadocians. What are you talking about?
Yeah, so then why are you saying I don't interpret them correctly if I haven't given you an interpretation?
Because you're an evidentialist, and I'm not going to give you evidential lines of argumentation when I'm asking you a paradigm level question.
So let me just clarify. I'm not allowed to use natural logic, and I'm not allowed to...
I don't...
See, this is what atheists do. So wait a second. I'm not allowed to use logic then? No, we're talking about justification, epistemic justification. We're asking a bigger question than whether or not you're capable of adding 2 + 2 = 4 and whether or not we agree with that. This is why this epistemology is so broken. It's literally the same epistemology as the atheists and naturalists. That's why these debates have been so popularized. I think because they really do appeal to the masses, and the masses largely are born into, because of the Enlightenment, a self-evidential evidentialism, just evidentialism, empiricism, we're gonna rationalize our way through this, and this is where it gets you. This is why all these debates have occurred in the past. It's no different than William Lane Craig. It's all the same stuff. Oh, we're just naturally use logic. Oh, can we just agree? No. We don't agree.
I don't accept those positions. Why would you? Well, I'm not a natural theology proponent or a classical foundationalist.
But I'm not allowed to talk about fathers either because you don't accept
You
my
can.
interpretation?
You don't understand the allowance. I don't care what you can refer to all the things you want to. I'm just going to keep calling it out as to why it's a non sequitur, and I don't accept that as an argument.
So you don't accept the early church fathers that we both...
I don't accept your interpretation. I don't believe that they're theory neutral.
I haven't given you an interpretation yet. How do you know you disagree with it?
I don't accept the Thomist reading of the Cappadocians because I've dealt with it before. So the question then goes to the question moves to a paradigm level question of epistemology and models. So why am I supposed to accept your model of theory neutral epistemology?
Jay is granting no. Ben waves, he's not. And listen, you could make a comment without using like the slurs, okay? No, he's not granting Jay's position, you dummy. He's not. He's making an argument from his position, which is not Jay's position. No, he's trying to merge the two positions so he can do his argument, dummy. He's trying to get Jay to adopt his epistemic position. That's not granting Jay's position, you silly beast.
Epistemology, classical foundationalism.
Okay, Jay, pretend I never told you I'm a Thomist. Let's just...
No, I debate paradigms. Do you not understand this? And no, you don't because you're a Thomist. Do you understand you can't and don't debate paradigms?
Yeah, Jay...
No, he's not. You don't even know what's going on. Guys, don't ban it. Don't ban the comments. It's fine. No, he's not granting it. He's not granting it. He's asking Jay to grant him an evidentialist view of the Church Fathers or the Cappadocians or whatever he's going to refer to. Jay doesn't grant it. Ben waves. You dummy.
Jay, I'm not...
Stop saying my name. I am moving
Don't say my name.
that because it gets to that because I don't accept your interpretation of the Cappadocians.
So you couldn't refute my points now? You literally said you moved...
Do you understand when it comes to a question about, this is the exact same debate I had with Arrow 4 years ago, or not Arrow, whatever the Thomist guy's name. It's the exact same debate where you want me to accept a bunch of metaphysical givens and assertions in the Thomistic scheme, and I don't because I have a different...
Massive God complex. God is the architect. Who's God? You're not saying anything, buddy. You're just doing cryptic theology. Who's God? How do you know who God is? Tell me that. You won't.
Different paradigm. So the debate moves to the epistemic level.
Well, okay, I agree that if you want to move it to the epistemic level, that's something...
No, the debate moves there. It's not me wanting to.
You see that? He's such a little sneak, this guy. He is like Ask Yourself, but Catholic. He really is. He is the Catholic Ask Yourself. It's the same exact system where it's just like this quarreling and pretending that Jay's doing some sort of move like it's Jay's preference or something. No. That's the only place to go, okay? It's the only place to go from here. They don't understand this when they call into Jay's. They never learn this. They never ever learn this. And you're going to see what it looks like against a low-tier atheist and why they keep these systems. This is why they're rarely up against someone like Jay, rarely up against anyone who's going to reject classical foundationalism, because that's just mostly the majority of basically theology, philosophy that's done online, at least. It's kind of just takes that approach.
Because I'm telling you, I have a totally different paradigm for how I read the Cappadocians, and I don't accept your self-evident Thomistic Aristotelian metaphysics. And you can't prove.
Seek and ye shall find. That's more cryptic bullshit, dude. I asked you who you think God is. I didn't ask you to give me advice. Did I ask for your advice? No, I asked you, how do you know who God is? Who are you referring to? You slippery little snake.
Prove those things.
Jay, let me ask you...
Why do you keep repeating my name?
I didn't.
Jay.
No, you keep repeating my name. Jay.
I apologize. Sir Dyer, do you accept the fathers that we both venerate?
Are you this stupid, really? Are you serious? Are you guys... It's like a cult. It's like talking to people in a cult. The question isn't, do we have the same church fathers?
The question isn't even, do we agree? Like, look, let me see how many things you agree with me on, and then I'll just take it for free.
The question is, we read them from different paradigms. Do you think that they're self-evident truths, self-evident, self-interpreting texts?
No, not always. I think that there are some that are obviously very clear, but I'm just asking.
Okay, this is a question, though.
Epistemic absurdity.
It's not epistemic absurdity. Okay, so if it's epistemic
Thank
absurdity,
you so much for
be
that.
able to easily refute my challenges.
No, because everyone can be broken down to epistemic absurdity. That's the sophistry.
Ty says, this is what roughly convinced me of orthodoxy. Reason is RC's supreme metaphysics. Yeah, that's where it all comes down to. It really does come down to that. And it does influence their view of let's say the sacraments even, or the Eucharist maybe, right? It leaks into a lot of stuff. Is it acceptable in a debate to grant a position that is a defeater to a position? Wait, grant it? Well, you don't. It's the difference between a concession and a granting. You could grant something that's a defeater to a position, but you'd do it for a reason, right? Like if it was a defeater to your position, you probably wouldn't grant it, because the reason you grant things is to set a trap. That's because you can see ahead. If you grant it, you're basically pulling the bear trap open for the future, right? Jim Tard, he's pointing out the contradictions. What's the contradiction? I bet you don't even know what a contradiction is, dummy. What's the P and not P? You don't even know what a contradiction is, dude. Get out of here.
That you're trying to impose.
It's not sophistry, but no. Okay, simple. No, we don't agree on the fathers. That's what I'm telling you. We do not agree on the fathers. We agree on who they are, not how.
Dude, isn't he totally Ask Yourself, but for Catholicism? It's like the same, and to me, it's uncanny. It's just the same like level of like technical philosophy, sort of pseudo stuff, and the same approach to an argument. It's the same type of way of interacting.
How to read them.
Okay, you can tell me that I'm reading them wrong, but you have to let me read you a quote first.
It doesn't matter because I don't accept.
Why does Orthodox dislike? It's not about what we dislike. Orthodoxy, and by the way, you can find the terms natural theology, but it's not the same thing as you'd find in Catholicism. That actually would be a good chunk of the stream, is like sort of dissecting what an Orthodox view would, if they were to grant the term, right, natural theology, what they would be pointing to, as opposed to what Catholicism is actually arguing. And it's not about a dislike. It's not about a rejection of our rational faculties and reasoning. That's not what it's about. It's about the reduction to pure rationalizing, pure reason as the mechanism for understanding and practice. It fails. It fails. And it's not like a one or the other, by the way. It's in the beauty of orthodoxy is almost every question that is attempted to create a dilemma. A lot of times, not always, but a lot of times, the answer in orthodoxy is both and. That's what's beautiful about it, is that it unifies. It unifies. It's reflective of the Trinity itself, unity and multiplicity.
Your reading of them. It literally doesn't matter. I'm not a Thomist, and I'm not going to read the I'm not going to read the Cappadocians in a Thomist lens.
Yeah, but Jay, can't we agree that Christ willingly got up on the cross?
It's like you guys do.
So you're not going to give me an interpretation, or just to say,
I'm going to say very simply that you believe that there's nothing in the intellect that's not first in the sensus, because that's the peripatetic axiom. And I'm going to just ask you to explain to me why I'm supposed to accept that when the peripatetic axiom itself is not in the sense data, because that's the beginning point of your whole system.
Jay, I didn't mean to say your name.
Jay.
You run back to, saying, oh, I just don't accept your epistemology, therefore your points.
No, you don't.
Oh my gosh, man, this guy's insufferable. The more I rewatch this, the more I see Jay's point went over. Oh, completely. Now, I don't know if he knows it though, and he's just avoiding it. I have a sense that it's the latter. That he knows the problem here, and he doesn't want to deal with it because he came in attached to a logic tree. He came in with a logic tree, and he thought Jay would just like get on the train, right? On the little like toy choo-choo train, and Jay's like, I want to get on there, dude. Dude, your little toy train is dumb, dude. You're on a classical foundationalist toy train, dude. It's like a toddler, dude.
I don't understand paradigms. I've spent 20 years. Now, I know how debate works. You don't know how debate works.
Congratulations. I mean, that's awesome that you spent 20 years doing this, but I want you to actually address any of the points that I'm bringing forward.
My challenges to you are at a paradigm level, so you're operating just like an atheist who wants to debate things that are not at the paradigm level. So you can keep yapping about how you read the Cappadocians. Why is that funny?
Because, Jay, you haven't answered any of my points. You interrupted.
Because my challenge is not at the level that you're arguing. It's at a presuppositional level.
Jay, when I came up here, you agreed to have a conversation about the filio question.
See, it's the same exact as Ask Yourself.
And then it turned into a paradigm level interpretive debate.
Unbelievable,
It
man.
didn't turn into that.
It did, because that's the questions. That's the questions I'm asking you, so you can either address those or just ignore them.
Okay, so Jay.
I agree. I did it again. No, you're actually just doing it because you think it's funny. It's not bothering me. It just makes you look like you're silly. Like, just say my name. It's weird. It's like neurolinguistic programming or whatever.
Maybe I'm just a little nervous. I don't know, man.
Sure. I'll bet you are. So again, you understand that my approach is paradigm apologetics. That's my whole thing. That's what I do. Now, you can address that type of stuff or not. I don't care what you do, because I left your system a long time ago because it's retarded and pink and gay. So you can either address my line of argumentation, or you can just keep yapping at something that's irrelevant to what I'm arguing.
Okay, how about you tell me your paradigm, and I will argue from that.
Yeah, so I don't accept the peripatetic axiom.
Okay.
So that's Thomism 101. Now tell me why I'm supposed to accept it.
Well, I don't have to prove.
Do you know what the peripatetic? Do you know what it is?
Is it basically like nothing in intellect is not first in the senses?
Yeah, so that's the beginning point of your whole system in terms of epistemology, in terms of how you know things, how you reason about the world. So tell me, make sense of that.
So that's the thing, is like that axiom is their system. And if that system's flawed, then their paradigm is flawed. It's really that simple. I know people don't like reduction like this, but it really is that simple. Why? Why is it simple? The axiom itself, the conclusion doesn't fit the criterion of the axiom. It's something like we gain all truth from empiricism or something, or the science or something. Well, is that a truth? It's the same problem. The claim itself doesn't actually fit that epistemic methodology. It's outside of the methodology. The claim itself. Like, I learned this like 101 the first time I had an exchange with Jay. I still can't pronounce the axiom, but I know the problem. Christian Wagner most likely fed him the argument. He got tunnel vision with it, trying to get out of it. Yeah, he was set on it. So, yeah, he was totally like, I got to get him on this. And it's like, what are you talking about? You think Jay's going to let you, through the gates with that one? Get out of here. Get out of here.
That if the peripatetic axiom itself is not insensate, then it's self-refuting.
Yeah, okay, sure. It's self-refuting. Thomism is wrong, but can we talk about the filioque?
No, because that's your paradigm from which you read the Cappadocians, you goober. So you admit so you just admitted that you're...
That's the end right there. That's the end. He uses that axiom to grant himself access to the interpretation of the fathers, and because Jay's point is that you can't just... You don't even just point to like a set of fathers. It's a paradigm. It's a whole view. It's not like, oh, I'll take this quote and I'll take this quote and I'll take this quote and I'll come to some, through my senses, I'll reason which data it kind of coalesces the best or something like this. It's broken.
So you admit...
He admitted they're from Wagner. Yeah, he's like a training puppy, right? That makes sense.
Your paradigm is wrong?
He probably speaks. I mean, Wagner's just as kind of nerdy. I guess they're putting some promise in this kid.
Yeah, sure. Toss it out.
Okay, well then Thomism's false. Then why would I argue with somebody who you just admitted your paradigm's not wrong? Why would I argue with you if your paradigm's wrong?
I've adopted the J. Dyer paradigm. I'll argue from whatever standpoint you want, from whatever paradigm you want. I just want to have a conversation about the filioque.
Filioque. I don't accept arguments about... Let's say if I was debating... Let me explain why I don't do this. The reason I don't do this is because if I'm debating an atheist and they throw a bunch of, quote, facts at me and a bunch of, quote, data at me and their interpretation of this or that fact, it's an unfruitful debate. And
pure reason? Yeah, there's the term pure reason, at least philosophically speaking. Reason requires faith. Like, all knowledge is theory-laden. Our entire existence is faith-based and participatory and experiential. So it's not just propositional. It's not just reasoning. We have a noetic faculty too, and that's something that I think also the Catholic view doesn't really consider. That the noetic faculty that we have isn't like reduced solely to just like, I'm a rational human, I'm gonna go out and rationalize everything. By the way, go to liturgy.
exercise, because the real point of contention is not the interpretation of this or that text or this or that data. Just like it's not a question of interpreting this or that church father. It doesn't really is irrelevant if we have completely different paradigms from the starting point. And the fact that we have common church fathers has nothing to do with whether we have the same paradigms, right? Because I read them from a totally different vantage point than a Thomist lens, just like Dionysius. Orthodox read Dionysius from a very different lens than the Thomistic lens of reading Dionysius. So why am I you can't solve this debate by just citing Dionysius. When I debated Eric Ibarra, I made the same point. We have two totally different paradigms. And Eric says, why don't you just let me stack up all the papal quotes? Because I have a paradigm level argument. And if I have one contradiction, that negates all of your papal quote mines. They're all canceled out. That's the strength of a kill shot paradigm level argument. That's what I do. So you can either address that or we can just keep talking past each other.
Yeah, that's the end of it. He just wrapped it up there. Look, this is the problem. When you come in, it works sometimes. I debate sometimes with atheists. I'll have like a very select window. I'm going through a very constrained set of logical branches I'm going to try to get to, right? But the problem with debating is like you have to learn, if you're a debater, this Jaw guy says he's a debater, you're going to have to learn to be versatile. You're going to have to learn agility. Because guess what? Sometimes you think that your logical tree is going to get through, but it doesn't. It gets blocked, especially with someone like Jay. Are you kidding me? You're like a teenager, Jaw. What are you, 14? Jay's an old, black, angry woman. Okay? He already sees through this. He's bored by it. He sees it far ahead. It's not even a glaze of Jay. That's just a function of how long he's been doing this. You guys think you're going to call in and get past, you're going to take the side road and he's not going to see it? It's a joke.
So Jay, just to clarify, I can't quote the fathers on the Filioque because...
Good God. Have you ever heard me debate? You're literally arguing the way an atheist does. So you won't listen to the science facts. You won't listen to the science facts.
So you actually deny that light, that space and time bends objects. You're going to deny that? You're going to actually deny the fossil record? You're going to deny the fossil record? I don't even know what to do with this, Jay. Look, I don't even know where to go with you, Jay. You're going to deny the fossil record? It's like you got to see how similar this is and why classical foundationalism is a failure. Because the atheist, the naturalist, the evotard takes the same approach as if the data interprets itself. As if the church fathers whisper to you the proper paradigm level assessment of what they're making, or the ability to take out what might be a dogmatic view and what might be a speculative opinion about something. You cannot read these things and just get all of it. The same way you can't find a fossil and suddenly it's going to tell you all of the answers. It doesn't. It requires an interpretive lens, which is Jay's point, which is something the Roman army here with their new, Backstreet Boys, people, coming up the ranks, they're still not getting this. And the thing is, if they got it, they would probably have to abandon Catholicism if they actually got this. But they don't get it. Jaw would be saying, if you dismiss my paradigm, it would be still true if you read the church fathers through my paradigm, as long as you don't call it Thomism. Yeah.
You don't believe the science.
Yep.
It's the same argument.
Well, I understand that you want to take this down to the paradigm level. I understand.
Because in the discussion, it already got to that. That's what I'm saying.
But I'm already saying, for the sake of this conversation, I am granting your exact worldview. Whatever you want it to be, I will grant that.
Well, if you grant my worldview...
Is this guy dumb? He's not. He can't be dumb. I know what it is. He got trained on this. He doesn't know what he's doing here. He had he thought he was going to do one thing. Jay blocked it, and he was like, I don't have any more moves. He doesn't even understand. If he just granted Jay the paradigm, he can't use this axiom or this evidentialist approach. So where is he going to go? Come to orthodoxy, dude. What are you talking about? So stupid. I'm going to grant you, for the sake of this argument, your paradigm, which defeated mine, basically, but I'm going to use yours, but then abandon it to attack yours? What are we doing here? Thank you, Jardar. By the way, these quotes he wants to read are admittedly Wagner's AI translations. Uh-oh. I mean, they're doing what they can. They're doing what they can. There's a mass wave of people going Orthodox. They're going to need the best of the best. Is this them? Is this the best of the best?
Then
I'm fine with that.
I accept the debate with a worldview that you admit doesn't work.
I'm not, again.
Is your worldview built on foundations? I mean, does it have the foundation of being built on the peripatetic axiom? If you can't if you can't justify your first, if you can't grant first, well, so you can't defend your first principles? Can you well, so why would you grant that? Why would you grant that if you're, dude, are you stupid? Why would you grant that if your argument is built on that?
It's like, Jay, for the sake of my argument ending, I'm going to grant you it. Okay, hang up. This is the thing. He actually doesn't understand the consequence of this. That's what's going on. Because he came in with a script, likely coached by his buddy, he doesn't understand the consequence, because if you do a script, you don't understand consequences when you get hit with like a refutation, because you're not in the argument. You're not soaked into the argument. It makes total sense the way this is going, actually. It's actually a good indicator of someone who's just reciting an argument and is not really in the argument, where you can navigate in different places. Like, you could be at different coordinates in the argument, like if it was a landmass, and know where you are. This is a perfect example of what happens. He doesn't know where he is. He doesn't know what he just committed to. Jay does. Jay's wearing aviators.
I never said it was built on that.
All of your system is built on your first principles.
I literally told you I was willing to argue from the fathers alone, not using any Thomistic ideas.
There's no such, that doesn't exist, you idiot. That doesn't exist. You have a paradigm like I have a paradigm. There is no
fathers alone,
as if the church fathers are theory neutral. I'm arguing they're theory laden.
Did he just say fathers alone? Like, what?
Sir, Jardar forgot about the curry argument. When
always.
in doubt, put
Every
your
time.
foot in there.
Every time. Thank you, Vagine. That is a very generous donation, like the one I left in the public pool. Every time.
Okay, and obviously I can take.
Do you understand what that means? Do you understand? I'm not making internal critique.
Agree with you.
Jade pulling this to her for speeding. That's a good reanimation of his audio.
Do you think that?
I'm saying that I am, Jay, that I'm willing to take on your worldview to show you through internal critique that the fathers that you think affirm your theology actually disagree with you.
No, they don't.
What? That's going inside outside. What are you talking about? I don't understand. Okay. I thought he was kind of smart, but now I don't. Jay, I'm going to go internal to Orthodoxy and show that your Orthodox church fathers, internally critiquing them, don't agree with you? From what? From the internal position or from the external position? I don't think this guy knows what he's talking about, actually. He kind of memorizes stuff that makes him sound pretty smart, kind of like someone who just doesn't know better. But once you listen to what he's saying, you're like, wait, what? You went internal. Look, Jay, I'm going to grant your view and internally, externally, refute you. His next move would have to been to smuggle Thomistic philosophical terms into an internal critique. Yeah, that's kind of what I was saying just now. He's pretending it's internal. Of orthodoxy or plain reading. Yeah, that's what he actually tries to do. He tries to go plain. Watch. Bryce, I see you. Funny thing is, as well, he debated a catechumen recently named Aaron, and Jaw admitted the filioque isn't necessary to distinguish the Son and the Spirit, but again, argues against Jay was going to be about that. Yeah, recently I saw some memes about him saying, like, basically the Trinity doesn't matter. That's basically what is the gist of it.
Well, then why aren't you debating Dr. Bo Branson, who has an entire dissertation on this? Why don't you go debate him?
Because he doesn't have an open debate call.
Sure he does. He's debated
right now.
Well, not right now, no, but he's debated multiple people.
Okay. So your answer is just go debate someone else because I don't want to talk about the fathers?
No, you don't want to address the fundamental conflict between our system and Thomism, and you just admitted that you don't have to justify your first principles. Why should I accept your Thomist interpretation?
Thank you, DBG thing.
If you can't address your first principles.
Jay, you keep on bringing up Thomism. I'm telling you that.
You
don't say my name. Don't say my name. No, say my name.
Yeah, I brought it up. I already told you multiple times. For the sake of this debate, we can throw Thomism out the window. I just want to talk
No,
about
we
the
can't.
fathers. I want to talk about
No,
fathers.
we can't.
We can't talk about the fathers?
If it's a paradigm level debate, You can't just go to the church fathers. That's my point. You have the wrong paradigm.
What? No, what are you talking about, dude? No. Ibarra's done. Jay ended that guy's relevance completely. Wagner is like a... No, I saw one call-in with Wagner, and Jay just... It's the same... Look, it's the same argument over and over again. I don't have to restate it. Every time, it's the same argument.
And the wrong starting point.
Okay, tell me the starting point. We'll go from there. This is how...
I want you to tell me why I'm supposed to accept your first principle, which is the peripatetic axiom. Prove that to me.
I already told you for the sake
So
of
you
this
can't. So you
conversation,
can't prove. Are you admitting you can't prove your first principles? I don't want you to do it for the sake of argument. Are you just admitting that you can't prove your first principles?
For the sake of this
No.
conversation, I'm an idiot. I don't understand the first
All right,
principles.
this is a waste of time. So he's not going to do it. So he noticed he won't admit that there isn't an argument for first principles because I'm not going to concede that the church fathers are theory neutral. To go.
Right, and he's going to pretend like he tried to, which is very sneaky of him, by the way. Maybe he just didn't know. I'm trying to be charitable here, but it's hard. He was like, no, Jay, just give me your position and I'll internally critique it. He doesn't really know what that means because what he really meant by that is he's going to then reassert and start from his starting principles, which Jay already got him to admit were broken. That's all he did over and over again. And so it's pretty frustrating when someone goes, no, I'm going to do an internal critique. Okay. By bringing in an external starting principle? Yeah. Why don't you let me do an internal critique with my external view, Jay? Alex, nice to see you, sir. He doesn't understand that what he's saying, it seems he's mostly reciting talking points. Yeah, absolutely. That's how you know. You push, when you get blocked in an argument, right? And this has happened to me in a debate before where I'm pretty set on a logical tree. I'm looking for the first intersection, take a right. Okay, good. For next intersection, did they take a left or a right? Okay, good. I know where I'm going. And then you get blocked, and then you're in the weeds, and you're like, oh, crap, like, I don't know where I am. This is exactly an indication that this guy is studying a particular line that he wants to run against Jay, but he doesn't know where he is. He's just lost. He's just completely lost in it.
Go down that line of argumentation would assume that, well, you just read the church fathers. It's just like a Protestant. You just read the clear text of scripture. You just read the clear writings of the church fathers. That's why he's now having to discard his Thomistic position because they can't justify their first principles. And their first principles are what the rest of the Thomistic system hangs on. It's literally called foundationalism because it's stacked up. If I pull out the foundation, all the rest of this stuff falls apart. And I told him a million times, I don't believe and I don't accept your Thomistic reading of the.
And by the way, this is kind of more broad of me to say, but like, it's not just like 1054 and some theological problems. What follows after that, like when you reduce your view, your theological view to this axiom or natural reason and things like this, you're basically taking essentially a similar approach anyway to the Protestants anyway, like where you think there are just self-evident truths. Like you don't really need to, at a worldview level, connect all of these things that are otherwise theory-laden, that need a binding paradigm level. Like the whole paradigm has to be true. It can't be, I use my reasoning and then I sift out what I think is true based on evidentialism, empiricism, and reason, and then I just go with that, because that's autonomous. That's like you're building truth from that view. That's why you'll see in this next clip, he actually admits when he's talking to this chick that he's not going to go with a revelatory system. He doesn't think it's necessary. Well, of course, a classical foundationalist would start with that principle that a revelatory system, the true dilemma of autonomous epistemology and theonomous epistemology, isn't actually a true dilemma. There's a third option. The third option, apparently, at least from my limited knowledge, seems to be what they think is basically this Thomistic paradigm. And it's not. It falls apart. Jay, Christian says, can you guys do an Orthodoxy Whatever episode with JB, you, Alex, and a few others and some Caths? Like a whatever, but not with hoes? Wait, like whatever podcast, but with theological hoes? That'd be kind of fun.
Cappadocians. Nor does Dr. Branson. That's what his thesis is partly about. So you're saying that was Jesus and whatnot? Are you guys joking or being serious?
Just for the record, you guys all see how mean Jay Dyer is again. This is a great...
True. Tristan. Shout out to Tristan. Okay, so this is where it gets like you start to see the translation. Now, everything you just saw with Jay, watch how he does it with someone who's maybe not too prepared. This chick with her horns, right? Some TikTok, low-tier TikTok debate or whatever, okay? Now, keep in mind, this guy, rising star. He had like 12,000 people. Now, I don't know who's real or not, but, this is like the type of thing that gets sort of lifted up. 12,000 live viewers for debating just like a TikTok chick, like nobody. Anyway.
But fun fact for everybody tuning in, this will actually be my first time talking to a woman.
I believe it.
So at least that's something that will be groundbreaking here. And I am really excited to have this conversation. A lot of people were calling for moderators, but I think we decided against that. We came to an agreement where we would not have moderators for this debate. And I think that both of us are adults. We can both be respectful, and I don't think it'll be a problem at all. So I'm very excited.
Yeah, I think it's going to be great. So thank you so much for hearing me out on that.
Oh, he moved over to tag? Maybe we can convert him. I mean, what is he, 19 or something? I always forget, like, how old we are. We're just, like, we're so old. I mean, I gotta give these people credit. Like, what some of these kids are focused on and how they spend their time. Like, yeah, I believe he's in a false church. But, like... what the hell was I doing at like his age? I was a mess. Now it could be just because he's autistic and he actually has never talked to a girl, but I'll give him some credit. He's in a suit. He's not chasing hoes and doing blows.
To me, it's like, I think it'd be better for you and I to have a dialogue
He's 19 and
rather
gay.
than a monologue for a long time, and then we just kind of sit there. So I think this would be more engaging. This is how I do my debates, so I do appreciate you adapting to that. But I think it'll be great.
Yeah. Yes, of course. So the way I've done this in the past with, discussions on theism, typically I found the best way to do that is to kind of have the theist make the positive claim and present.
See, theist, he's already off the wrong track. What? Theism is it's failed. Theism? I understand it. Like, you're going to I get that you can generally argue from a God view, and there might be some bridges. I've done it. I might still do it. But in the end, if someone presses you on it and they know better, general theism, oh man, not good. Now watch. Remember the conversation he had with Jay and how he argues from the peripatetic axiom, and how this evidentialist view, this classical foundationalist model that's baked into Catholic theology and epistemology, watch how it shows up in this argument. Watch.
And, hey, this is why I believe in God. And then the atheist can, come and say, hey, that's why it's wrong. And then we can just kind of move into open dialogue, quicker interjections back and forth. So I figured I would just lay out like a 5-minute, hey, this is why I believe in God, so that, that's out there. And then you can go ahead and make your case for why you don't believe in God. And then we can just have our conversation.
That sounds great.
Okay. So with that being said, I will get started real quick. It's a new argument I haven't presented on my channel before, but I think it should make sense to a lot of people. Let me find my props, something that's very common on the Jesus and Whatnot channel. So I believe that God exists, and I don't believe that this is something that has to come from natural or from supernatural revelation. I actually believe that this is something that can be proved with logic and reason. And today,
right there, that's his whole view, right there. And he doesn't understand that. Jay, even in this case, if he was talking to Jay or me or someone else who's ready for this, that statement, just like the axiom, that statement doesn't meet the criterion. I want you to hear what he said. He broke up a little bit with his video, but listen to what he said.
Real quick, it's a new argument I haven't presented on my channel before, but I think it should make sense to a lot of people. Let me find my props, something that's very common on the Jesus and Whatnot channel.
Get off the phone. Jim Bob left the bear cult for the Ortho Bros who saved his streaming ability. What? Why would I go orthodox if I wanted my streaming ability saved? I would go to I would become God Logic and I would just take a very general approach to Christianity and be a millionaire, you fucking retard.
So, I believe that God exists, and I don't believe that this is something that has to come from natural or from supernatural revelation. I actually believe that this is something that can be proved with logic and reason. And today
See, it's already getting shut down by God.
I lost you.
Boom, done, cooked, over.
thing to be other.
Whereas
And
frozen.
act is going to be the fulfillment. Oh, is it frozen? That is not good. Here, let me switch to my personal hotspot here. I always have this problem.
Well, why don't you talk to your parents? How's the fruit snacks, by the way? How's the fruit snacks?
Okay, while he's switching over, hello. I am the Born Again Atheist. I'm on all platforms, but I stream on TikTok every night. So if you are a non-believer and you want a fun community to join, come join the coven. We're super duper
Can you hear me a
ultra
little
mega
bit better now?
Uh-huh.
Oh gosh, how annoying is she?
Yes. Okay. Let me go into. I'll restart that. So I believe that God exists, and I believe this is something that can be proved from natural reason alone. Today I'm going to present 7 premises in 1 conclusion to show that. So premise 1 is that
7, lock in.
all things,
Okay, here we go.
Yeah, I play the guitar. I could have started a rap. I mean, there's so many options.
is a ratio of act. Can you hear me?
Ratio, and then you cut out again. It's better than it was. So why don't you just go ahead and try to do your arguments, and let's see how far we can get.
All right, sweet. Okay, in all things, there's a ratio of act and potency. Potency is going to be a real capacity for something to be other than it is, and act is going to be the fulfillment of that potency. So, for example, this lighter is not currently producing a flame, but it has the real capacity to do so. That is called potency. Now, if I strike the lighter, that would be a fulfillment of that potency. And that's what we're going to call actuality, or act. It's going from non-being to being. And then it follows that in all things, there is some ratio of this act and potency. That's premise 1. Now, premise 2 is that in this world, we observe things.
So this is the problem. This is another problem with this type of theology, is that in the end, anything that you're pointing to is going to be in the created world. And the problem with this argument is like a long, very overly complicated, perhaps view type of argument of like first cause or something like this. But the problem is, you'll see as his premises go on, is that he's going to be using created things, whether they're created by a human or created by God from his view, or just things in the world. And he's going to establish some inductive principle based on created things of causality. And this is going to be an issue because you're now collapsing created and how things operate, even absent speculation of what the fall did to our physics, metaphysics, and so forth. But you're actually trying to take what you see in reality and trying to use an inductive argument about what you see in reality, and you're trying to transpose it onto pre-creation, the act of creation. And so that's just more naturalism. That's just more evidentialism, baked into your assumptions about things. And that's why the tag argument is the only place you can really go if you abandon this view, because everything is going to come down to making an assumption about God, his creation, causality, as if it's equal to lighting a lighter or doing something like this.
That are in motion. Now, motion is going to be defined as something being reduced from potency to actuality. Now, don't confuse this with locomotion. That would be like me throwing something or a car moving on the highway. That's like physical motion. But rather, we're talking about motion. It's going to be something going from non-being to being, or potency to actuality. In this world, we see motion, such as the lighter before, right? This would be motion in the lighter.
Yeah.
Now, premise 3.
See, look, you can do a hypothetical. If God created a world that was static but still had identity, but it didn't have the knowledge of what he calls actuality because you don't observe something becoming, it just is. That kind of world completely static, like a pause world, pause universe. But it still has the, there's still reason there. You can like maybe observe from one perspective or something. You could still run a tag argument for that, for God. You can still run a tag argument. Now, you don't have, quote, regularity in nature the same way we would have it, now, the way he's arguing it. He's, there's regularity and causality in physics, such that one state of affairs can go from potential to actual, potency to action. He's still using just physics and the understanding of the natural world and trying to use that and to reason from that and go, well, that must apply to the created world itself. But it's a category jump.
Is going to be that no moved thing can go in.
The objection doesn't work, Jim Bob. That doesn't tell me anything, Bjorn. I'm so tired of your lazy ass, drooling mouth in my chat. Literally never saying anything, never telling me where it's wrong, where I'm missing the mark. You're lazy!
Into motion.
Maybe it is. Maybe you're right.
Unless it is moved by something else. The lighter...
See, this is causality, exactly what I said. It's like Newtonian theology or something.
Cannot go from no flame to flame unless an outside mover, me, causes it to do so. My hand cannot go from open to close unless my mind moves it to do so, right? So there's always an outside mover. This principle applies to all things, that no moved thing can go into motion unless it is moved by something else. Now, premise 4 is going to be that motion exists in chains or in series. So, for example, the reason that the lighter turned on is because it was moved by my hand. But the only reason that my hand moved is because my mind told it to do so. And the only reason that my mind told my hand to move...
Okay, see, this is what I'm saying. It's like, when you approach this from this angle, there's no distinction that he's actually making that's necessary between determinism. Like if he's just going to go back to a set of dominoes, he said, my mind did this. Like, you're incorporating all this other metaphysics into the argument that you have to justify from a worldview position. Okay? You have to. He just said my mind. Now he just pulled the mind into the physics, as if like the mind is a domino that tipped over the thing called the lighter and it lit up. Whereas, hold on a second. What do you think reality is made of? Like, is it invisible? Like, what are you saying is going on here? Are you presupposing or supposing intentionality? Like, of the being, of the person himself? Is there a distinction between person and thing? Human being what we are, person being who we are? Is he making this distinction? No, it's very lazy.
It's because of my brain chemistry and so on and so on and so on. Now, these chains of motions, this is premise 5, these chains cannot regress to infinity. There must be some sort of first mover that causes these chains, because as we have shown above, motion only occurs when something else moves it. If there is not a first unmoved mover, then the chain would never begin in the first place. For example, if you have a train with each boxcar pulling the one behind it, the train would never actually move in the first place if there wasn't an engine at the front pulling the rest of the boxcars. Likewise, motion in the world cannot exist without a first mover that is not moved by anything else.
Yeah, but here, I'll say it again. It sounds intuitive for a second until you realize that your observation about movement in the world is a post-creation phenomenon. Post-creation. It's a post-creation phenomenon. So inductively, he's using some sort of inductive principle to say this is how we see the world as it is, in the created world as it is, once it's created. But then he's going to try to use that argument for creation itself. It necessitates creation by the same principles, but it doesn't actually. It doesn't actually follow. It's a non sequitur. I wish it followed. Honestly, maybe there's a way that I'm not seeing that it could follow. I think this is a massive category error, and I think it actually does a disservice. Because you can just go to the tag. You can go to the necessary preconditions to account for the transcendentals, the things that are unseen. The best argument for God are the unseen things, not the seen things, the unseen things. Now, does it make sense that that him and his position would go to the seen things, causality, physics, mechanics, movement in the world.
Else. Premise 6. Since this mover is unmoved, it has never gone from potency to act, and is therefore pure act. If the unmoved mover...
Tag is inductive. It depends, what you're pointing to. Like, I could use a tag argument for... but I made an additional distinction there, Ben. You're not listening because you're not good faith. I'm saying inductive in the way things operate in physics. He's using that. You can use an inductive argument for, say, like a necessary mind, like a divine conceptualism angle. You can use a type of inductive argument or deductive argument about the status of categories, the status of logic, the status of things like this, knowledge. They're not based or found in material. They're abstract, and abstract requires a mind, and that's an inductive argument. But you could also make it deductive. But that's not the point. Freak.
Had ever gone from potency to act, it would be considered moved. And since nothing can move itself from potency to actuality, we must say that the unmoved mover is pure act.
I'm not saying something's flawed because it's inductive, dude. You guys are retarded.
Premise 7 is that
I'm saying he's using induction insofar as the material world and things causing other things to happen. Mechanics. He's looking at mechanics. That's a problem.
Since there is no...
Because you need more to evaluate mechanics. So his argument doesn't actually justify the necessary components for evaluating causal mechanics, his lighter, this and that. He's just granted himself, because he's a classical foundationalist, he's just granting himself everything else that's required as a precondition for him to examine the world and things moving. That's all. Giving his premises, one could conclude infinite regress of matter in motion. How is he proving this unmoved mover premise? Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. You could only do infinite regress, and you'd have to abandon your notion of motion. You'd actually have to abandon it to get to God, because God would precede our concept of motion and causality in the physical world. He would, so that's what I'm saying is like the necessary, making an argument for God as a precondition, as a necessary being. You might, if you're going to try to make this kind of physics-based argument, you might as well just skip to the invisible. Stop going to the visible. Go to the invisible. What's the status of the invisible? Do you need the transcendental category to evaluate motion in the world? Yes. So why would I grant that to Jesus and whatnot?
No potency in this being, there is no capacity for it to be any way other than it is. This implies that there is no imperfection in this being, as well as no limit. Therefore, the unmoved mover is full of knowledge, full of power, full of goodness, etc. With all of this being said, we can...
Wait, what did he say about perfection? Hold on a second.
Had ever gone from potency to act, it would be considered moved. And since nothing can move itself from potency to actuality, we must say that the unmoved mover is pure act. Premise 7 is that since there is no potency in this being, there is no capacity for it to be any way other than it is. This implies that there is no imperfection in this being, as well as no limit.
Oh, okay.
Therefore, the unmoved mover is full of knowledge, full of power, full of goodness.
They never start from the Trinity. They never start from Revelation. Yeah, same. I mean, you could kind of put them in the same category there, because you need the Trinity for Revelation,
etc. With all of this being said, we can conclude, this is the conclusion, that this being is identical to the classical definition of God. So that's going to be my main argument, and okay. You can kind of tell us why you disagree with either the premises or the conclusions, and we can just go have an open dialogue. You can tell me when you're done with your sort of rebuttal, if you want to call it, and then we'll just go back.
Sure. So do you always set your YouTube chat, just real quick, do you always set your YouTube chat to sub only?
No, tonight I did, but I can take that off if you would like.
Yeah, people are saying they're not really sure why you did that, so I just wanted to let you know that people were not happy about that. But yeah, it's up to you. You know, I'm just letting you know.
Yeah, no, I can open up this
because they were able to chat before it started, so they were like, "Wait, I was in the middle of a conversation," and you know.
Yeah, no, I will change that while you give your rebuttal.
Okay, well, I do appreciate that. Thank you for your 7 premises. Potency. Okay, so the funny thing about philosophy, it's a lot of crazy language. It's a lot of phrases, it's a lot of words. But let's be honest, it all can be summarized into one thing. We don't know what happened before God of the Gap, so it must be God. So every argument you're going to give me tonight, whether it's potency, whether it's the logic of philosophy, metaphysics as a whole, PSR, all of it's going to end up being, here's all my reasons why it has to be God. Do I know it's God? No. But is it my guess? Yes. Why? Because I love God, right? So with the potency thing, everything is formed in a certain way.
Let's see. Voting.
Everything must be made by an out.
Very, very rough. I'm loving the lively camera quality. Looks like he's about to do some. Yeah, it looks like he's about to do like a, Perez Hilton.
Side source, I've heard your thing about the cell phone with the camera.
Natural theologies all over the church fathers. No, not in the same way. No, that's a lie, Bjorn. You're a slippery little weasel. And, I question everything about you saying you're Orthodox. No, that's just a word concept issue. Natural theology, yeah. The term, yeah. Is it the same? No. An Orthodox conception, if they were to use the term natural theology, is not referring to the Catholic view of it, dude. You're such a weasel, man. How do you live your life and not get smacked in the face on the daily? You're going to make us listen to this chick? Well, we'll see how far we get.
Camera could be on the other side or blah, 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 blah. In my opinion, yes, things like lighters, things like cell phones, and things like pencils all have a maker. You can trace that back to an actual maker. But natural processes like the beginning of the universe, how...
Let me see if I can impersonate her.
Things came to be, how trees grow, how babies are born. All of that happens through evolution. All of that happens through natural processes. So to me, it's kind of funny that we're trying to get to the point of infinite regress, that everything has to have a start, and that start was God, but you're using...
The vestibular system is inductive. That's not even a coherent sentence, goldfish brain. Would you like to try it again and make a cohesive, coherent sentence? That's not even a coherent sentence.
Using examples that were honestly made by people. So because you could trace who's the first trucker who invented a pencil or a lighter. By the way, why do you have a lighter?
Are you on cocaine? This is Adderall. What did she do? Inject? What do you have, dude? What are your feet dipped in Adderall? Like a foot bath that's just pure cocaine and Adderall leaking into under your toenails? Go to the hospital.
For incense.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can trace all of these material objects back in time, but with the natural processes, the beginning of the universe, or evolution, or babies, or trees. There's a natural
trees. Stick frog. She's like a Bing commercial.
Process. So I think it's doesn't really make a lot of sense to be using material objects rather than natural means, because we're talking about the beginning of the universe here. And you're Catholic, right?
Yes.
So you agree with like the Big Bang and all of that kind of stuff.
Now, she doesn't know why she has a good point. It's a fair point. It's not a good point. Is that the distinction between causality of like making a cup or a calculator or this or that. We're talking about the world as it is, which needs to exist in a certain way. And that would ultimately be the starting point of your argument for a first cause, because you're seeing causality in the world and movement. This causes that. It might include that us being humans are capable of making things in engineering. But she's kind of right that it's a bit of a jump a bit between making a lighter do something and versus nature itself, which doesn't really, you can't just start with nature has a bunch of intentionality in it. You have to actually get there, that there's intentionality in every movement. Rocks fall. Is that a cause? Is that a moved thing? Something caused the rock to fall. There's no intentionality there. I just have her read 1 Timothy 2:12.
We don't have a dogmatic position on that.
Oh, what's your position on it?
We can talk about that after, but I want to address real quick.
Sure.
You brought up the God of the Gaps. And I would like to point out, I think you misused that. The God of the Gaps is a fallacy that occurs when there is a gap in scientific knowledge, and then they just say, "Oh, yeah, God must have done that." So, for example,
that's what you're saying.
She does have a picture of herself. I think this is Russell Brand's daughter. Him and Katy Perry. It's about the right timing, right?
Well, yeah, so the Greeks would look at like the sun rising every day, and they'd be like, we don't know how the sun rises, therefore it's God. But what I'm doing is not saying there's a gap in our knowledge. I'm actually saying that our knowledge leads directly to a being that we can define as God. So I'm saying that since we can logically conclude
I was just testing it, you guys. I'm seeing if it's still loud.
first unmoved mover, and we can logically conclude the being and the attributes of that being, we can then say that we know that how we're defining God is accurate. So there's actually no gap in my knowledge. There's nothing I'm filling in with God.
You are. So here's the thing. If God can exist without an explanation, why couldn't the universe exist without one? Listen, just because we don't have the answer to what happened right before the Big Bang doesn't automatically mean it's a sky wizard that grants wishes to white men. Okay, that makes no sense. You're saying there can't be an explanation without God. I'm saying, why couldn't the universe fall under those same properties? Or I can make up anything. Fucking Tooth Fairy, fucking the spirit of Harry Styles. I could use anything, and this could still apply, and your argument would still remain the same. You wouldn't change any of your premises if you use the Tooth Fairy.
Someone's dad was not at home.
Bigfoot, the spirit of Harry Styles.
So you've confused my argument with explanation. I'm talking about motion, something going from potency to actuality.
But here's my thing though.
So I'm not asking about explanations.
We're talking about explanation. But then all of this all sums to the same thing. You're saying that motion, that mover, the one who pushes you, must be God. And when we get to the next one, PSR, it's going to be the same thing. Who put the ball on the floor? Oh, it must be a mover. It must be the putter. It must be the ball guy. It must be ballies, right? You're going to have the same response for every one of these arguments. I'm just preparing everybody. It's going to be a wild ride of the same conversation for the next however long you want to continue. But yes, we are specifically talking about a mover. In my opinion, why does it have to be God? Why couldn't it just be explained?
She's half right here. It doesn't tell you who God is because you're just inserting God. Who's God? This is why he's like, we can do this basically without a revelatory method. Okay, you can't though. Here's why. Here's why he's in a massive contradiction. Was revelation required to know God? Yes. Right. Yes. Especially if you're going to take even a Catholic position. How do we know who you're referring to when you say God? Is it just a nature, no person? God? A category of God? So here's the half point I'll give her. It actually does require a revelatory theonomous epistemology. For this reason. It doesn't tell you who God is. It doesn't tell you what you're referring to. So she's saying, well, I don't know what you're referring to, essentially. Could be something else you're referring to. I don't know. But for him to say God is necessary, a necessary being for this causal universe and the way we see it, you have to have an understanding of who you're referring to. Not what. Who? With
the universe.
Who?
Why can't the...
Jim, take away your biases. He's repping Christ. Well, no, he didn't say Christ. He didn't say that.
The universe have...
He said... someone out there
mover without
beneath the pale moonlight, someone's thinking of me. Oy vey. Who wrote that movie?
Cool it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Being a sky wizard. You know what I mean?
Because
and it's
the universe has potency, so it can't be the being.
But we don't.
Mello says from Australia, I believe, they jump between natural theology and revelation, but their doctrine of natural theology excludes revelation in their definition. Yeah, it's very bizarre. It's very bizarre.
Oh no, because we don't know what happens right before the expansion of the universe, right? We clock. But we don't know right before.
No, because it went from non-being to being. That's what the right before.
But we're talking about right before, right? So us atheists, or actually smart people, we clock the beginning of the universe at the singularity, at the expansion, and apparently
the singularity, you dope. The singularity is a mathematical distinction, not a physics one. The singularity happened. We clocked it. Who clocked it, you retard?
Apparently you would too, right?
Again, I never took a dogmatic position, but can you tell me which one of my premises you disagray with?
All of them are silly, and all of them are leading to, I don't know who pushed us, so it must be daddy, right? So I'm not going to uphold to these natural things.
Very bizarre believing in a magic wizard. Hey, hey, goldfish brain. Do you find things are bizarre to believe in because they're not empirically verified? Is that your standard? I'm trying to understand your position here. is it silly to believe in something if there's no physical empirical evidence for it? Is that your position? I just want to know what your position is here. Goldfish brain. Magic wizard. Yeah, we already. You don't have to write it twice, dum dum. You trying to get banned? You trying to get kicked out of here? You're doing a good job.
My premise that in the world we observe that there is motion is silly.
So yeah, what gives you the idea that God is the motion?
The other thing she did mention is eternality of like a Mormon view, that all matter is eternal, like everything's eternal. And a lot of atheists kind of take this position. Why can't matter just be eternal? It just always existed. The way in which motion exists the way it exists. But that's just that would be ad hoc, because you could say, well, what makes you think the way in which things move is also eternal? Could it be a different way? And they'd have to say yes. So what's eternal then? What are you referring to that's eternal? Is it unchanged? Or is it a eternal chaos, which is incoherent, forming into some sort of sense of order over time? Is that the position?
No, that's a premise. I'm asking which premise you disagree with.
By the way, if you she's already in a problem herself that he didn't catch. Is why would you need to believe in the Big Bang if everything's eternal anyway? You wouldn't need a singularity. You just have eternality. In fact, you don't need a big explosive story of the expansion of the universe, which is that a particular or is that a collective of things? The expansion of the universe stops, and frozen in time creates an ordered system that's like a battery and a clock combined, such that we have life, and all the rest unfolds randomly. Well, why don't you just start from that always existed? That's the problem with the born-again atheist side. They go, we don't need a creator of all things. We don't need a first mover. This is the argument he's making. Then you don't need the Big Bang either. What are you just arbitrarily taking a cause of some sort of narrative of? It's all creation myth. It's like you got to create creation. You got to create creation. So you get a singularity to create creation, incidentally, accidentally. If atheists don't believe in God, they don't they automatically lose a debate if they say something is a God-given? Oh yeah, totally. That's why rights. Speaking of goldfish brain, I was going to actually use the cut, because they go, well, I have no reason to believe in the Sky Wizard. I've never seen any evidence. You go, yeah, do you believe in rights? Of course I do. Of course I believe in rights. What are you, a monster?
All 7. We got potency, being a non-being, to being motion, moved by a mover, mind by my hand, my mind tells my hand things. What tells you? All of them.
You disagree that there is motion in the world? Because that was
no, I don't disagree with the motion. Oh, sorry, I disagree. I'm sorry. You're right. I said that wrong. I disagree that God.
Lenny says the first mover in this system could also just be a rock. Nothing about the first mover tells you it's supposed to be a perfectly good being. Yeah, you would need a revelatory system to know the who-ness of a being. Otherwise, it could be a what. You're right. Why? She could just reduce all this and be like, can you tell me why the first mover can't be a what? Because then you're forcing a category distinction between what and who, like Pontius did. We don't need your uncreated God to understand where we came from. We have an imaginary single point that contains all things. Yeah. Yeah, by the way, the initial state, I don't know if you guys ever heard this. One of the most boring people alive, Graham Oppie, crafted this initial state argument, which is essentially the tag argument, except it's not for God. It's tag, transcendental argument for initial state, Tias or something. And you ask them, like Cha says, you ask them, can we understand the initial state from the state of affairs we understand here, right? Laws of logic that we understand here, laws of physics, our understanding of categories and particulars and objects, object relations. They always say, no, it transcends that. Oh, so you're saying the necessary creator of all things, from your view, is a non-intentional, non-being person, but it's a state of being that transcends our understanding of logic, operations, physics, like the Trinity.
God is the motion. That's
So
the
you
part I
disagree-
disagree with. I don't
So which
disagree with
premise?
my mind. I guess 7. You kind
So
of
you
lost me at
disagree-
6 and you lost me at 6 and 7 because your connection's bad. But I'm
Yeah, okay,
assuming
well,
6
let
and
me
7
help. I
landed.
can repeat them. I can repeat them so you can understand better.
Oh my God, please just start at 6 and 7 though.
Okay. So since this
To be charitable, I think the first mover argument is okay for proving that creation needs a creator, but that still needs divine revelation to prove. Yeah, I guess the thing is, creator itself would be a theological term, wouldn't it? So yeah, I mean, if you can move to a revelatory system, maybe it's a good bridge. I guess it could be a good bridge. But I still feel like I could be wrong about this. I still feel like or sense that it's pointing to the world as it is, which is already a post-fall world, and its operations and how it works, and you're coming to a conclusion that would follow only in the created world. It wouldn't follow, but it wouldn't follow and get you to the uncreated, because that would be before causality, before sense of time, space, matter. So that's the problem I see with it, is that the conclusion is in a different dimension than what it's being argued for, which is the created dimension. And it's like, oh, look at all these things we know about the created dimension. It must be true of the uncreated dimension. I think that's flawed.
mover is unmoved, it has never gone from potency to act and is therefore pure act. If the unmoved mover has ever gone from potency to act, it would be considered moved. And since nothing can move itself from potency to actuality, we must say that the unmoved mover is pure act. Premise 7 would then be, since there is no potency in this being, there is no capacity.
Do you think moral anti-realism is the only logical? No, there's no logical atheist position. No, that doesn't even... Moral anti-realism, it's defeating because they don't have it here. Here's a good thing to press on an atheist who says anti-moral realism, whatever that means to them. It just means morality doesn't exist. It's just like fancy words for just saying there are no moral facts at all. But what I do with that position, which I've heard it a bunch from atheists, I just ask them, why do you feel that you can take a moral anti-realist approach and not be able to swap morality with truth? Because in the Christian view, morality and truth are linked. The pursuit of truth. Should we pursue truth? Ought we be honest? Ought we be coherent? And these kind of questions. Moral anti-realism, ask an atheist to swap out morality for truth. It sounds clunky, but like truth anti-realism. Ask them why they would affirm that there's a realism to truth and simultaneously hold that there's that morality is anti-real. They don't have an answer for this. They just kind of arbitrarily pick through the transcendentals, and then they go, well, no, I affirm truth exists. It's objective and universal. And you're like, so does morality exist? They're like, no, that's just fiction. That's a total fiction. I just ask them, well, what makes truth insertable where moral is, in that section of the statement? Why do they affirm truth exists? There's anything real about truth? A lot of them actually just say there isn't. A lot of them just say that. They just say that there's nothing real about truth. Okay. Then if there's nothing real about truth, why do we accept any facts about anti-moral realism then?
Capacity for it to be any way other than it is. This implies that there is no imperfection in this being as well as no limit. Therefore, the unmoved mover is full of knowledge, full of power, full of goodness, etc. Where
That doesn't follow either.
do you disagree in there?
That doesn't follow. You need a revelatory system for God being one with, his attributes or his uncreated energies.
To actuality, we must say that the unmoved mover is pure act. Premise 7 would then be, since there is no potency in this being, there is no capacity for it to be any way other than it is. This implies that there is no imperfection in this being as well as no limit. Therefore, the unmoved mover is full of knowledge, full of power, full of goodness, etc.
No. You can't just smuggle goodness in there, dude. What are you doing, man?
Where do you disagree?
Who gave him this argument? Did Wagner give him this? Who sold him this? Was it Ask Yourself? He's like, you remind me of me.
Okay, it cut out again at 7, but I'm pretty sure I'm just gonna assume it's cutting out. I'm gonna assume that 7 is God made the motion of the ocean, right? God's the mover.
No.
Is that 7? Okay,
No.
Then what's 7? I heard 6, not 7.
Yeah, so 7 is that since there is no potency in this being, there is no capacity for it to be any way other than it is.
Talking about God, what the fuck? Okay, why is God not filled with potency? You said 7 wasn't about. First of all, this being. Or are you afraid to say his name? He who shall not be named.
No, that's how premises work. We haven't come to the conclusion.
Well, just
that it's
say
God
Dad. Dad's my mover. Okay, why doesn't Dad have potency?
Because it's unmoved.
The other thing is, if she knew more about his theology, like the whole pure act thing, and then the denial of the essence energy distinction, everything collapse into ADS, which is not Andrew derangement syndrome. And then there's no distinction between the act and the necessary essence that he's arguing exists. There's just like this mechanical. What's weird is like it actually it results in a sort of deterministic God mechanism that reduces everything. It's almost like Muslim actually. Like a pure act, like the energy is identical to the nature. And if we would say an act, an expression, an energy as humans, or God's energies as actions, would be proper to his nature, but not identical. And I think I'm still very new in this angle. I'm not that interested in Catholicism. I'm fully sold on Orthodoxy. But there seems to be a problem here as well, where if she were to press him on what he means by pure act and what he means by God, and if he fails to give a distinction between the essence of God, the nature of God, and the energy of God, then he might actually end up in a corner, and the causality argument becomes deterministic as well. Just the first cause, as he states it, is a thing that it couldn't otherwise be. It had to be an action. Kind of like the Muslim God. The Muslim God can't not create. It's just a part of his nature. It's not an intentional willed creation. It's not a person, an expression of the person of God. It's just God doing God stuff.
How do you know? I'm sorry, it says God moves across the oceans. It said God is the breath in my lungs. God is the winds and the waves. That trucker's moving around like wildfire.
You're referencing locomotion, and you're still not understanding my definition of motion.
Locomotion. Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Nitty. That's kind of that's what's interesting, Nitty. Even like here, not about God, we're all humans, right? Well, not if you believe in evolution, but if you just grant that we're a static category, a universal category called human, Nitty, you're a human, and I'm a human. But if there's no distinction between personhood and humanness, we're all the same human. So it's like that's a consequence of it. So even without scripture, even without the revelatory system, even without all of it, if we just use the same distinction that's necessary for human beings in the way we express ourselves, we all have different energies of our personhood that we express, idiosyncrasies, the way we laugh, what makes us mad, our even our like a propensity to sin, proclivities, they're still proper to our nature, but they are particular to who we are as humans, as human beings, persons. But if you collapse them, we're all the same person. There would be no distinction.
Why is God unmoved? Even though we see in religious texts, these dudes you like, Akwani Imani, Akani Mani, Tommy Wami, right? He thinks God walks around. So, he wrestled with Jacob. Yeah, no, this guy moves. Why are you saying he's unmovable as a god?
Again, we're talking about potency to actuality, not
that's low tier
locomotion. And you asked why is he unmoved?
Are you just saying because he's a ghost? What do you mean by motion?
No, I didn't say because he's a ghost, but you asked why he is unmoved, and I said the being is unmoved because it's the first chain in the sequence.
Well, that's the problem, is if he just asserts it's the first chain, how is he categorizing God? Right? Now you have terms like sequence, unfortunately for him, which I believe is a category error again. God is the first chain in the sequence. Sequence is about time. It's about now maybe he has another language, word for it, right? Because we're limited. To be fair, we're limited in language. So, like for instance, creation, the act of creation, transcends our notion of lowercase creation in time. If we hold that time itself, time, space, matter, temporality is a creature, we can't possibly fathom the state of affairs for where we have a limited language. That dimension, that world, that existence is beyond being. Beyond being. Now, the atheist might say, well, it's just not fair. They might say that's special pleading, but it's not special pleading. Special pleading applies to things in the same category. Definitionally, God is placed in not the same category as creatures, or in temporality, reduced to temporality or constrained to temporality. But this is a problem for him, though, because he's making the argument from what he sees inside of space, time, and matter and how it operates, and he's inserting God as a necessary chain. What he's doing actually is bringing God into nature and arguing that way. He might actually have a conclusion that God is now a part of nature, a necessary part of nature. But to say he's the beginning chain of a sequence, you're tying the sequence you see in nature and how things operate, and you're tying it to God as if they're in the same category. But they're not.
Oh, okay. He's at the beginning of the domino drop. How do you know?
Because there has to be a beginning of the domino drop.
It's not a problem. Just saying it's not a problem, the fact that Jay doesn't say it is meaningless, dude. You're not even contending. You're just saying something's not a problem. That's an assertion, just like he said you guys do. That's a critique of Thomism. You guys just assert things.
And once again, like I mentioned before, why couldn't the universe be at the beginning of that drop? Why couldn't something in the universe? It has to have potency. Yeah, I know what you're saying, but how do you know whatever happened before the universe doesn't have potency, or it does have potency?
Can you define potency for us?
Potency is everything is made by an outside source.
No, that would be a weird definition of contingency.
Infinite regress to no first cause. First cause argument, there must be a first cause, therefore my daddy moved me.
No, do you know what?
Listen, well, guys, he's going to...
Ooh, she's
gonna say the potency definition, and let me know down below if his is gonna be a lot more boring. Okay, this is already a boring argument, but I'm sure he's gonna explain it.
She's like a bad, those annoying radio hosts you get in the car at like 7:30 a.m. and you're wondering why a lady is talking this loud. I mean, she has a promising future in AM, FM, early morning radio. So I turned Taylor Swift cut it down. What is she doing? Shut up. It's 7:30 in the morning.
Anyway, it's going to put everybody to sleep. So get ready for naps.
It is the real capacity for something.
She's hell on earth.
To be a way other than it is. That's how Reginald Gary Gilligan.
You trying to make it through a date with this chick?
Garage defines it.
Oh my God. Reality. Who cares? Who cares? Okay, then why couldn't I be God? Because I can move clay in a way that I want it to be manipulated.
Because you have potency.
What? You can't move my body in a different way? What the hell?
You have potency.
How?
Because you have a capacity to be a way other than the way that you are.
How?
See, this is also a weird angle too. Again, you need to distinguish what you're talking about. If you're talking about the nature of this woman, she can't. The nature of what she is what she is. You hear that, Troons? So no, not in that sense. Her very nature can't be altered. She can't be a different nature. So this is interesting because Jesus and whatnot doesn't have this distinction between personhood or, let's say, accidental features of her body. She could lop a hand off, but that wouldn't change her nature if she lopped her hand off.
If I cut your hair right now, then you would be a
Wait, what the hell? What do you mean?
Yeah, that's a fail, Jesus and whatnot. That's a failure. And it's maybe because you're not getting this distinction. Now, in evolution, this has been fun. It's funny how these things are related or parallel. In evolution, we've been talking a lot about essential properties and accidental properties. He just said you can't be another way, or you can be, or something. And he's arguing that you can cut your hair. Well, no, that's an accidental property. That's not actually referring to your argument of God necessarily being a certain way. You have to be referring to his nature. Right? So this is another problem with Jesus and Whatnot's attack here, is that no, that's not a good example at all.
God in the Trinity, depending on what denomination you are, God made himself the Holy Spirit, which is kind of feminine, period. He made himself Jay Jr., who got ripped up and, tortured for fun or whatever. Like, what do you mean? God can manipulate himself in any way he wants. He formed himself into a burning bush. He formed himself into a gooey human who liked to eat stuff. He did a lot of crazy things. What are you talking about?
He does not make himself or manifest himself Holy Spirit or Son. Rather, they are all co-eternal and co-subsistent.
Oh, how convenient. You can cut my hair and I can't cut Jesus's hair. I mean, you can cut Jesus's hair.
No, you could cut Jesus's hair because.
Well, there you go. There we go. There's the potency.
Nature has potency. Nobody's denying that the human nature had potency.
Yeah, but Jesus is God depending on what denomination you are.
Yeah.
We wouldn't say that the human.
I'm not trying to be mean, but this is just low tier, dude.
Nature is divine.
This is a shitstorm.
But the divine person of Christ is divine.
Yeah, but
you united to the divine person.
Okay, but who's coming up with the rules that God doesn't have potency?
Again, it's the first chain. We haven't called it God yet.
Now, interesting is that even born-again atheists here pressing back on Jesus and Whatnot the same way Jay did. Who says? Well, I think we agree, basically, right? She's even bad faith in asking at least one pointed question here. Based on what? What do you mean? Who? Who are we talking about here?
No, you're saying it's a first chain. No, I'm getting to the end of this boring argument. Number 7. How do we know that God...
Does she do real... Well, she does TikTok. No, that's not real debates. She does just TikTok. She is a TikTok radio personality.
God doesn't have potency. Where are you getting that idea from? And
it's kind of a shame, too, because, like, there are atheists who are more well thought out, and they're just not as popular. And that's true, I guess, maybe even for some Christian apologists. But it's a shame, because, she's loud and annoying. She's going to get the simps. She's going to be loud and annoying with the simps and the purple room and the guitar, and she's so badass. She's so devilish. Ugh.
Could we switch out, since you want to call it a bean, can we switch it out for Tooth Fairy?
We haven't called it God yet.
Well, let's call it Tooth Fairy. Okay, how do we know the Tooth Fairy doesn't have potency?
We're talking about the first chain. And the first chain
why wouldn't the Tooth Fairy have the first chain?
Yeah, so the first chain cannot have potency because then it wouldn't be the first chain. It would be a contract.
What gives you the right to say that God is the first chain? Because you want to?
Again, I haven't called it God yet. God comes in the conclusion. This is premise 5 and 6.
Okay, heads up, God. He doesn't want to call you the first chain. I know, he's crazy. Okay, so let's get to the part where God is the first chain. Why are we taking so long to get there? It's the conclusion, right?
Yeah, so I can tell you how we come to the first chain again. This is premise 5.
You know what's kind of ironic about this? Like, philosophically speaking, he's using like an Aristotelian distinction here about potency and actuality, or potentiality and fulfillment. The irony here is that revelation itself, it's weird that he's not appealing to a revelatory system where revelation itself would be a type of fulfillment, would be the type of jump from potentiality to actuality in the world. Like, to me, this is a bit bizarre from him. Actuality, act of fulfillment, realization, active state at that capacity. Even a theophany would still match. Like, he's still rejecting it, though. He's like, no, I need to go by rocks falling and trees growing fruit and lighters lighting and stars a shooting. Like, why? Why?
No, we already know. We already know 5 through 7. Oh my God, brain rot.
Okay, so
why is God 7?
So what's premise 5?
Premise 5 is blah 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 brain rot. We already talked about premise 5. How is God premise 7?
What is premise 5?
We're not just gonna keep. You're freezing again. We're not just gonna keep asking what premise 5, 6, and 7 are. You explained it 100 billion times, and now half the
That's so accurate. Oh my gosh, totally.
Audience is asleep.
That's so accurate.
So what's premise 5?
Premise 5 is suck it. Premise 5 is suck it. Oh, there's a chain that says, I mean, you could say this about fucking anything. Oh my God, things can't move without a mover. Okay, my hand's the mover. Okay, my mind is the thing that moves the hand. Okay, well, my DNA is the thing that created my mind that uses the hand.
Your DNA created your mind? What the hell? Holy freeze frame all-star. I got both of them. That's like the I lost meme. Hello, darkness, my old friend. This is so low tier, dude.
And my parents are the things that made me that moves the hand. Who made my parents? My grandparents. Who made their parents? You go back and back and back and back. And then here, the first mover is grandma.
What? Wait, grandma the fish?
The good old fish.
No, dude, that would require, like, even to his point, that would require a fish before the fish. What are we talking about? Can we ban her?
Okay, that is the first freaking mover.
He is sad.
Okay, we're not going to just...
He's like, this is my graduating class. He's like, this is my generation.
Keep going back a billion million times until it eventually gets to God.
DNA created the mind. That's hilarious.
I just want to get to the God part.
Yeah, so I already explained the God part. Since the unmoved mover has...
I got the whole we're watching two sides of the same idiot coin, but I don't think I can ever root for a troglodyte uttering from her facial. No. No, she's much worse than him. Yeah.
Oh, don't call it a God, though, right? We don't like his name.
I didn't, though. I said unmoved mover.
You said you want to get to the God part, and then you called him.
Yeah, I was quoting you. I was quoting you.
Uh-oh, God. Yikes on bikes. Okay, yeah, let's get to the being part. Listen, I'm not a big fan of him either, so if you don't want to address him as a being or a God, I mean, I understand.
The unmoved mover is going to have no potency because it is the first chain, and potency would reduce it away from being the first chain.
Says who?
Since there's no potency, there is only act to be found in
And wait, hold on. When you're talking about this potency stuff...
This is unfortunate, because this is question begging.
Are you talking about living beings? Are you talking about the origins of the...
He's defining potency and then saying God's... we need non-potency. And we just say God is non-potency, and you're like, okay, but says who?
Universe? This is such a vague topic.
It's metaphysical. It applies to all things. All concepts.
She's still panicking? She is panicking also. Fake laugh.
Like pretend science? That's freaking awesome,
dude. Metaphysics is pretend science?
What a moron. Metaphysics? She thinks metaphysics is when you go to Borders Books and you get a crystal book, and next to it is a metaphysics book, because whoever put the books in the order were like, metaphysics means like sage smoke. That's metaphysics. Like smoke signals are metaphysics. Wow. Retardation. This is retardation.
Fuck yeah, dude. It's just like actual science and physics are like, this is how we explain things. Metaphysics is like the studying of the why.
Oh my gosh. Look at that freeze frame. Now, you know, look, now I do share his face after I just heard that.
Do you believe in truth?
Truth? What is truthful about some bullshit about rhetoric? It's just rhetoric.
Do you believe in truth?
She's such a retard that she doesn't even understand we're talking about first principles and things that are definitionally precede the scientific endeavor. This is how cooked this entire... I mean, we really need to just be... honestly. We really need a Gomorrah types event.
Why are you attaining metaphysics to truth? It's just rhetoric.
Now what's interesting about this? He's basically at the bridge of where he should have started to begin with. But he doesn't want to be a pre-supper. He doesn't want to be mean Jay Dyer. He doesn't want to be an ortho bro. He doesn't want to be orthodox. But look at this. How many minutes in, you guys? Jesus and whatnot. 23 minutes of rattling off a 7-premise, retarded classical foundationalist argument. Mangled. And where does he end up? Metaphysics. The transcendental category. Truth. The ontology of truth. Knowledge. Meaning. Laws of logic. Information. Laws of physics, laws of nature, regularity, the rest of it, right? Being, personhood, mind. Wait, dude, seriously? 23 minutes and you're just now starting the argument, Jesus and whatnot? What are you doing, man? What are you doing? You could have started here, dude.
It's asking the why. But the truth claim doesn't apply to metaphysics because metaphysics asks the why.
Truth claim doesn't apply to metaphysics. That's a metaphysical statement.
Hold on. I'll say it in a second. Metaphysics asks the why. Metaphysics says, why is the world here? What's the purpose?
What? She has no idea what she's talking about.
Physics explain the what. Or the how everything came to be.
She has no idea what she's talking about. This whole debate, L, would have been completely avoided if Jaw actually listened to Jay Dyer when he said he doesn't grant the Thomist presuppositions. Yeah, but this is what's interesting, is as we predicted, even with his wordy, flashy distinctions, right, his Aristotelian, potency, potentiality versus actuality, even with that, you start to see why he's in the same philosophical category as this chick, which is a set of granted things, the classical foundationalist model, the empirical model. This is where you get to. You mirror your opponent. That's what's so frustrating. Like they mirror each other because of their starting points. They both grant themselves things like mind, metaphysics. And he could have just started there, man. He could have just presupped her. He could have crushed her in like 5 minutes. But no. He had to be a Catholic about it.
What the evidence is, what the science points to. Metaphysics just gets kind of wordy. It's a lot of rhetoric. It's a lot of BS. It's a way of asking questions about reality rather than providing evidence. It is an evidence of a supernatural world.
What evidence? That's another thing. I would have asked her, evidence exists? Oh, yeah, evidence exists. Okay. Is that a concept? Or is that a physical thing?
It exists. It just talks a lot.
Yeah, so metaphysics, you just made multiple metaphysical claims in that sentence.
That's true. Good on you, Jesus and whatnot.
Metaphysics is called metaphysics because it's the category of Aristotelian teaching that comes after physics.
Rules for thinking logically.
Wait, is that right? I think that's wrong. After physics? Wait, that's wrong. No, you have to start with all these first principles to do physics, to understand physics. Why did he say that? Why did he say that? I don't know why he said that.
So to say
maybe he just worded it wrong.
The reason I brought up truth is because if truth exists, then
wait, but when you say truth, what truth?
Hold on. Can you let me speak?
I know, but
he put his metaphysical, what's the phrase? His epistemic horse before his metaphysical cart. I may have mangled that.
Here's what I'm having an issue with. And yes,
because you're not letting me speak.
That is true. And yes, I'll let you finish.
He just completely ended his entire system in like a single, but she's too dumb to understand this.
Finish your sentence, and then I have a question about all these giant.
No offense to anyone in the chat who doesn't understand this. Okay, I'm sorry.
Claims you're making.
Yeah. So metaphysics just pertains. Yeah. So metaphysics just pertains to that, which is.
I don't understand why. Maybe look, I'm trying to be really charitable with this guy. He's like 19. But maybe it's not. Maybe, wait, Alex, you would know, Jay. Is this a Catholic position, or he just kind of flubbed that? Like, I don't know. I actually don't know. I don't know who would possibly come to the conclusion that the practice of physics and understanding physics doesn't require the necessary precondition of a slew of metaphysical assumptions that you have to start with faith-based. How is he correct? No, that's impossible. You can't examine physics without metaphysics. Just the same way you don't do science and then learn the philosophy of science as an elective or whatever you have to do before, right? That doesn't make sense. Speculation about natural reality? I don't know about that. I don't know. They're not defining it, to be fair, but metaphysics, even in the most broad sense, would be a bunch of first principle assumptions. Like, I don't know, there's reality out there. I have a mind. Like, I'm evaluating stuff. There's meaning. I could use language and meaning to describe stuff. There's another mind out there. Time and space, right? This kind of stuff. These would be before your senses. the assumption. To evaluate some senses, you're using things that you don't have senses for. This is why the peripatetic axiom, peripatetic axiom falls apart. And this is what Jay exposed with this guy. And he doesn't think twice about it. He just moves on. He's like, oh, I got my ass handed to me by Mr. Meanie Pants with the aviators. I just got completely annihilated. And now I'm going to do a debate like that, a week later, and go right back to the same exact axiom that was completely dismantled.
Is explicated in Aristotle's book that
Weird.
came after physics, and it's going to be an explication of the world that is not merely physical. So saying something like truth exists, that's going to be a metaphysical claim. Saying something like I don't like metaphysics would actually be a metaphysical claim of.
Yeah, even metaphysics aren't necessary. That too. He's right about this. You couldn't make any physics-based inferences without assuming metaphysics. Metaphysics following from physics would be entirely incoherent. It doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense. He used the label of Aristotle's book called Metaphysics that is translated, titled, defined after physics. It's where the term came from. So is that a perversion? Am I just taking what I think after physics means, but it's not chronological? Like, I'm actually confused. I'm not well trained in the history of philosophy and all these people and what they mean by their terms. But sometimes it's hard to examine. Are you saying the book title that he actually meant that too? Or did he mean something else? Is it like a poetic thing? Is he like poetry?
Sorts. So you can't really say the things that she's saying without using.
No, it looks like he didn't misspeak. Apparently not.
Metaphysics. So to reduce metaphysics to
that's right.
science, I believe is what it was called.
That's
absolutely. It's just like BS science. Yeah.
So you don't believe in metaphysics.
Metaphysics is just, listen, metaphysics, logic, philosophy. It's just, this is how I sum all of these topics.
You don't believe in logic.
Oh, sorry. I meant the way philosophers argue logic, the logic in philosophy, rules for thinking. Do I believe in?
She doesn't believe in rules for thinking. She has to trust her rules for thinking to not trust. They should be all put into a cage. Honestly. Pray for me. This is exactly the point I go where I'm like, are they made in God's image? Do I have to hold that today? I mean, come on. It's Monday. Can I have one day off?
Are you talking about the 3 laws of logic?
No,
or just logic as in being coherent and having a brain?
Do you believe in logic as a concept?
Concept as in using my thinking brain? Duh! I mean, hello, you're the one that believes in magic, and I'm the one that
Gosh, he's like a rabid healer dog.
It's math. So who between us is struggling with logic here?
So
you believe in a sky daddy, and I believe in natural processes that happen naturally.
You do believe in logic then?
Yes, but what I meant to say was philosophy.
She just ended her own view. If she believes only in natural processes, how is logic a natural process? Where?
Philosophy and metaphysics are bullshit.
That is a metaphysical claim.
No, that's a metaphysical
philosophy
concept.
And metaphysics are bullshit.
He's right about this.
These two concepts, all they're good for.
A metaphysical claim. That's a metaphysical claim that you just made.
Cool. Metaphysics, my ass. I don't care. So metaphysics and philosophy. Here's how I sum these two topics up.
She's doing philosophy now.
Metaphysics and philosophy. Before men invented microphones and liked hearing themselves talk, they made up metaphysics and philosophy.
What? You just said the people who invented microphones and what? They made up philosophy? She's doing bad stand-up. This is what it looks like. You're so right. I can't even distinguish this from like a Kill Tony episode.
Yeah. It's just,
she just said, yeah, like she just owned him. Listen to this.
Oh, metaphysics, my ass. I don't care. So metaphysics and philosophy. Here's how I sum these two topics up to be. Metaphysics and philosophy. Before men invented microphones.
Oh, before men invented microphones.
And liked hearing themselves talk, they made up metaphysics and philosophy. Yeah. It's just.
Yeah, I'm retarded. I'm actually retarded. That is my new leading candidate for the stupidest thing I've heard someone say. It's crazy. Aristotle's classes place the topics of metaphysics after you learned physics, natural philosophy. Yeah, so he was doing things at night he should have been doing. Asking, what is telos would instantly shut this down. That's true. It would also be telling she had horns on. They can't hide it. They love it. They love it. They lean right into it.
I just like that. Yeah, it's men liking to yap a clock. That's why it's boring. That's why nobody on the internet...
That's right. I mean, philosophy can be extremely boring and wordy and flowery and just pretentious. I agree, but it doesn't invalidate the categories of metaphysics.
Actually likes philosophy except middle schoolers. Not sure why it's a middle school thing.
Wow.
Just to be clear, your rebuttal to my premises and conclusion are metaphysics is dumb.
So she admits men invented microphones. At least we scored that.
Philosophy.
No.
And the irony is like we gave a bunch of women microphones, so what? They could what? Not like listening to themselves talk?
No, this is a new topic. No, my grievance with metaphysics and philosophy, that'll come later, I'm sure.
She needs to, we need a big Sean, we need Sean Connery. It's when you call in the big guns.
Premises, I'm making fun of them because the being God.
I'm not fixing
the being God. He's the first chain of events. He's the first mover. But I'm asking you, prove that.
This is what happens when a woman really down inside wants to be a stand-up comedian but doesn't have the balls to do it. That's actually literal. So she's like, you know what? I'll do this.
The being happens to be the first chain of events. You haven't done that yet. So the only reason why I start talking shit on metaphysics and philosophy is because I know it's going to get there. So I just want to let everybody know where I stand.
Wow, who cares?
Yeah, okay, so which one of my premises do you disagree with?
7! There's a first chain of events that's a being. The first chain of the domino effect is a being.
That's not what it was. My premise.
He's like, it's not what it was. My argument was not actually that. The irony is that everything she just said was philosophy. I know. Her entire rebuttal of philosophy is philosophy. Yeah. How do you get this dumb? Well, the Enlightenment. There, I said it.
Premise 7 is that since there is no potency in this being, there is no capacity for it to be any way other than it is. This implies that there is no imperfection and that this being has no limit. That's my.
Okay, 6 and 7 were both annoying. It has to be the first.
Annoying.
Mover, the first chain of events. Wait, why are you just asking me what is the? Can you tell me? Can you?
Liberty did this.
Yeah.
What do you mean? I already.
You tried to ban alcohol. You tried to not give us alcohol.
I told you, I don't think the being is the first mover. You're going to have to provide more evidence than these. I mean, you had 7 shots. You didn't do a good job. So give me something else to prove that this being, how do you know this being is non-potency? There's no potency in this being. And it's the first chain of events. Explain how the God happens to not.
Yeah, girl. Men invented metaphysics.
Have potency, and it's the first chain of events.
Yeah, so the first chain of events, if that's what you want to call it, I'm not positing that it's there and then saying this being that I've described has to be the first chain of events, but rather I'm saying since
I will give it to him. He does keep his composure more than I do. That's for sure.
The chain of events, there has to be a first chain, and that chain we can then describe because no chains come before it, and we can know that there must be no potency within this object because if there were, it would cease to be the first chain. So if you want to talk about infinite regress, we can. If you want to talk about
So this argument is it's a conclusion that follows basically like analytically, like you just define God as this, and then you say God is equally like it's the same definition, potency, or no ability to change or whatever, and then you just define that. And there might be something true about the statement, but I don't think he gets there with the argument. I think he's just... Remember when we debated, it was 2 of us who debated, like, someone on Christian nationalism? And I made this mistake. I learned this, and I'll never make the mistake again, is when someone says, I'm going to debate, is Christian nationalism incompatible with Christianity? I didn't get a definition because I just assumed Christian nationalism is like people thinking... basically like Christians taking the government over essentially and having all law basically informed by Christian ethics. I'm like, that sounds awesome. But no, because I didn't check, because, that was an L on my side. The people we were debating defined Christian nationalism as holding the nation higher than God. They just defined it that way, but didn't tell us. You know? They, you know, and I was like, oh, I see. So if I granted that definition, yeah, you're right. Christian nationalism would be incompatible with Christianity. He's kind of doing the same things.
About acting potent.
He's trapped in Thomanism. She's trapped in emotions. Yeah.
We can, but you have to give some sort of argument against the actual arguments I've made.
I'm telling you right now, you can switch out a being for just the universe. I don't understand why this makes God real. I could use the same argument to justify evolution. I can make the same argument to justify the Big Bang and the singularity, and I can make the same argument to say it was a natural process. So why should I believe that this happens to be a 6,000-year-old Christian God? Why?
Yeah,
why does this make the Christian God real? I could use this exact same argument to prove evolution and say the singularity is the first chain. How is this monumental for Christianity?
What?
A Buddhist could use this.
She's got black eyes. Look at that. Look at that little demon.
A person from Islam could use this.
So does the singularity have potency?
Singularity, he could have crushed her right there. Is a singularity a physics term or a mathematical term?
Yes. But wait, why is potency relevant though? I guess my question is, why is potency relevant? Why is that the end all be all? Why is it why are you applying
motion?
Potency?
Yeah, potency is how we can come to comprehend motion, because motion is defined as something going from
just because we don't know what happened right before the Big Bang doesn't mean it's the Christian 6,000-year-old God.
Well, you're in endless regress, right? So if you avoid endless regress, I mean, even a honestly, you know what's crazy is like, is it Ken Ham or Hovind? Ham, one of the two. They look identical to me. Even their really basic kind of rhetorical argument, maybe, or I guess they're making a category distinction about the beginning of everything, and that the beginning of everything can't be more of everything because that's not a beginning. So the beginning of everything with our limited language would have to be something that transcends everything, time, space, matter. That's the only way to escape endless regress, is to necessitate something that transcends endless regress. Otherwise, you're just in endless regress. So even starting there, you're pushing away from space-time matter, because you can't say the beginning of space-time matter was space-time matter. That doesn't make any sense. So what's necessary to escape it? Well, you have to have a categorically distinct being, essentially, because you need some intentionality. All of creation also has the transcendental, invisible to it. Nobody can deny that. There's no evidence for it. You don't physically hold any of these categories. So you need to have an account for that. So the more you list the things that you need to justify, the more filtered the justification becomes to a narrow position. Middle parts are bad call for people with forehead. Yeah, don't do that. She should have bangs, yeah.
God, that makes no fucking sense.
That was never my claim.
Okay, so do you believe in the Big Bang? I mean, we could stay on potency all night and we can make everybody fall asleep, because all I'm going to keep saying is we don't know what happened right before the Big Bang, but I'm going to guarantee it's not the 6,000-year-old God truck Mary kill God. It's not going to be that one, okay? It's going to be a natural process. You keep using potency as a gotcha, but this doesn't prove the Christian God to be real. A 6,000-year-old Mary, 12-year-old trucker God? No, this does not make that God real. And you're saying it's not your claim, but you're a Catholic. That is your claim. So I'm kind of tired of you saying, I want to just be annoying with my premises, but I'm Catholic. So you do believe in the God of the Bible. You do believe in the Jesus that rose from the grave. So quit acting like this doesn't apply to the Christian God. I'm allowed to say this doesn't make sense in the Christian worldview, in the Catholic worldview. And also simultaneously saying I could grant all of your premises and just say it's the universe. Something outside of the universe that didn't have potency is the thing that moved everything. So I'll just use your same argument to debunk Christianity.
How do these people not see that women are better, more happy, better used for society as wives at home raising children?
Okay, so does the universe...
He lost agreeing to this debate. I think you're right, Bjorn. Rare W for Bjorn.
have potency?
Yeah, but it's something outside the singularity. The universe didn't exist prior to the singularity.
What?
We're getting somewhere now. What outside of the universe then caused the universe? That is an
God of the
question.
gaps. Once again, just because.
No, he asked you, lady. Freak. Jay Dyer's apologetics rely on Van Til's Dutch Reformed Presbyterian. No, that's, first of all, it's a genetic fallacy. Second of all, it's not even true. That there's formulations of the transcendental argument that precede Van Til. What are you talking about? That's like saying, like, well, that's like a Protestant argument being like, well, who translated the New King James Version? Thank you for the $5. Sorry to make fun of you, but that's retarded. That's like saying the Protestants used the current language. They translated from Greek. Therefore, Orthodox are reading American, English Bibles, the study Bible. Therefore, it's Protestant. Come on, man. Elevate.
Because we don't have that
Elevate.
answer yet doesn't mean it's going to be a sky wizard.
I asked you a question.
This is my answer. This is my answer. Just because we don't have that answer yet doesn't mean it's going to be the 6,000-year-old Catholic God. That makes no fucking sense. It's going to be some type of natural,
Give me an example of something that could have caused the universe.
No, because atheists don't need to have faith in things. No,
atheists don't need to have faith in things. Oh my gosh, maybe this is why he has 12,000 people. I can't even take any more of this, honestly. Unless you guys want more. I need a break. I need an emotional break. Transcendental arguments go back to Aristotle. Yeah, it's just not even a good, even if you went all the way back there and be like, well, it's not orthodox, it's Aristotle or something. It just doesn't, nobody owns an argument, right? That's not the way we approach, a logician would approach anything. It's like saying owning math. It's like, imagine a bunch of reformers figured out a new theorem for math and being like, Orthodox started using the theorem to tie it in, to say argument for God through mathematics, and said, well, don't you even know that a Calvinist developed that? It's like, no, they discovered, or they further refined it with language. That's like saying someone discovered music or created music. Like, if you take an argument or a theorem or a musical composition, you're actually, it's not like intellectual property on the music that literally exists. It doesn't follow. Plus, Calvinism is just self-refuting. I mean, obviously, if a Calvinist better refined a transcendental argument, it still doesn't say anything about the truth of Calvinism. It's broken. It's a completely broken system. It makes God the author of evil. It makes people incapable of actually doing good or evil. It makes God into a bored puppet maker who, in the corner of his room, plays with a puppet that does evil things, and he plays with a puppet that does good things, and then he congratulates them after they die. It's complete insanity. If you were to ask any of the church fathers if all knowledge and intelligibility depends on Christ, they would say yes. Yeah, that's a tag argument right there. Of course. Doesn't make sense. Appeal to emotion? Whose emotion? What are you talking about? Calvinists are pulled by their puppet strings to argue for Calvinism. Yeah, and by their own logic, we chose orthodoxy, and we were determined to. God actually made it happen. I actually blame God. When you say, I'm praying for you to find the truth of Calvinism, what you're really saying is you're praying to God to orient my puppet body toward, I don't know, a theology in a church that didn't exist for how many 1,000 years. It's insanity, man. One day I'll be a real boy. Yeah, it's like Pinocchio theology, yeah. Thank you for your merciful shutting it off. I know, that alone deserves some tips. Jeez. That's my new model, by the way. It's torture. It's like waterboarding, but it's digital. Chaw, after my nose stopped bleeding from hearing her say atheists don't have faith in anything, it made me think, is it even possible in any worldview to not have faith in anything? No. This is one of my favorite things, is faith is impossible to avoid. It's impossible to avoid. All knowledge is theory laden, and all of your actions and everything you think you're doing relies on both faith in your recollection of the past and faith that the future will be like the past, and faith in your faculties in both directions. Reason and knowledge point you to faith. I would actually say faith is required. I'd do that. I would reverse that, Ridge Pounder. It might be the case that it leads you to faith in a certain way, but you start to realize that your reasoning is actually faith-based. Just your reasoning alone, just you reasoning, is faith-based for sure. I'm so tired of people attributing, well, that's their only cope now. It's just a type of fallacy. It doesn't say anything about the truth of the one true church or any other theological claims. It's just like, we put the flag in the ground. No, you didn't.
Thank you for ending that.
You're
I
welcome.
will not throw trash in the river forever as a thank you.
Wow. See, that was a win. Just for us turning that craziness off. She's not going to poop in the river. Those who reject religion do not escape it. They simply replace God with, yep, secular alternative, nature, evolution, academia. They love it. I mean, look how many people think their new creation story isn't a loving God through his will created man in his image, with the ability to fall, with the ability to learn, to redeem himself. No, we came from a fish. That makes sense. As an Orthodox Christian new to these debates, are the insults meant for entertainment? Yes. Is there a theological rationale? I don't know. Scripture calls us to correct opponents with gentleness. As a new Orthodox Christian, you're not my priest. But I appreciate your concern. She's one of those people I have a hard time believing was made. I know. That's my quote, unfortunately. That's what I'm going to be known for. That's what I'm going to be known for. Everything else I did good in the world is gone. It's just going to be like, some people I don't see as image bearers of Christ. I am. I'm totally gentle. Are you kidding me? This is gentle.
What would you say if I told you I was mentally retarded?
Yeah, that's gentle. I mean, there's people worse than me. If reason relies on faith, why would tag be invalid or false because it requires faith? It wouldn't be invalid, even without the faith, I think, component. Athanasius called the Arians gay. Yeah, I know. Saint Nick, I mean, it couldn't have felt good to be slapped across the chin by Santa Claus. Jet is, oh yeah, Jet. He has some wild takes. Yeah, pray for me. Yeah, why don't you pray for me instead? How about that? Have you ever tried that? Huh?
You don't get to ask those questions.
Yeah. You ever think about that? All right, let's go to, this is actually should be good. My favorite, speaking of classical foundationalists, William Lane Craig. I think this is fairly new. Versus, gosh, I forget. He has such a, Alex Malpass. Now this is something you might actually have to pay me to stop watching. Now I got I gotta admit, I like Alex Malpass more than William Lane Craig. Like, if you were to ask me, out of the two people, William Lane Craig or Alex Malpass, who do you think has a full leather bodysuit with a ball gag? It would be William Lane Craig. Who has a dungeon 3 floors down underneath his apartment in New York City? I wouldn't say Alex Malpass. Not even close. It'd be the guy on the left.
The argument was revived in the 20th century through
the best argument that we have for men over 60 not shaving their face is me, literally me.
Stuart Cornelius Hackett.
Imagine this guy crawling out of a boot. You know how horrifying that would be? Imagine you're camping and everything's beautiful and peaceful and you kind of hear some noise and rattling outside your tent. You look over at your boots and he's crawling out.
In his book, The Resurrection of Theism, published in 1957. The book fell stillborn from the presses, to paraphrase Hume.
This guy's theology, by the way, is so insane.
And so had little immediate impact.
Yeah, he always looks like he was wearing lipstick the night before. When dancing.
But I became aware of the book.
The problem, believing that man came from the trees and eventually got upright and started boogieing.
Many years later, became enamored with the argument, and in studying Frederick Copleston's History of Philosophy,
I can see him slithering into a conch shell.
Found that
out of a conch shell.
This argument had a storied history in Christian, Jewish, and medieval Islamic thought, and particularly in Islamic thought, this argument really came to its crown. And in honor of that tradition, which is called kalam, which just is a statement of Islamic doctrine in medieval scholastic theology, I called it the kalam cosmological.
Everything that has a beginning must have a beginning.
Argument.
Everything that exists has a beginning. The universe exists, so it has a beginning. Would you like me to get out my latex suit? I'm behind, but to give this chick credit, she's showing how easy it is to dismantle absolute divine simplicity without even knowing about it. All those questions about God appearing in the world require energy essence distinction, which he rejects. Yeah, I was saying, Lenny, that like even the reference of who God is requires the distinction of God, nature, and then the who-ness, which is revelatory, right? How do we know who God is? Well, revelatory. You can't avoid revelation. He's like, I'm going to make an argument for God, avoiding revelation. How?
To differentiate it from the, at that time, universally.
You know what I got to do? I always say this, but I never get around to it because I'm a busy man. Is if you take every William Lane Craig sort of diatribe and just put him in the back of an Uber of a completely foreign Arab, how great. You only see the eyes of the Arab. He's just a unibrow and he's just looking. He's like, look, close your eyes. He's in the back of an Uber.
Discussed argument from contingency, the Leibnizian cosmological argument.
Fantastic. And what was it about,
Fantastic. I have no idea what you're saying.
Developments in the 20th century that
I eat eggs with a tiny spoon.
It sort of drew you to this argument again.
British people are so, you're like, who should we invade? Like England. How did it ever exist aside from the Shavs, the ghetto Brits, the urban Brits? These people are just inviting a takeover. Oh, hello. What's that? What you got there? What do you call that, a burqa? What you got there, a sword? That sword's got a curve to it, doesn't it? Never seen such a thing like that. We don't have that here. We have swords, proper swords. What are you doing with that? What are you doing with that? That's sharp, isn't it? That's nice. Brother, we are taking over your entire country, brother. Was that nice? Well, good luck then. Have a good day.
It resonated with deeply felt intuitions that I'd had ever since I was a boy. I remember lying in bed at night thinking about the past.
Don't say it. Don't say it. I remember being a boy. My face looked exactly the same, but I was a boy. I sleep with my socks on. Everyone knows that I sleep with my socks on. I remember like it was yesterday.
Past, and the series of events going back and back and back with no end, or rather no beginning. And it just seemed inconceivable to me. It seemed there had to be a beginning for everything to get.
And that, I would wake up. I remember my parents would try to give me oatmeal. I never liked oatmeal. I would be talking to my parents about endless regrets as a little boy.
It started. Well, I found that those boyhood intuitions.
Don't say that. Don't even. Why does it sound so gross when he says it? What, is that the next book you're writing? Boyhood Intuitions? I advise against it. And there I was. Lots of boyhood intuitions. Did I mention I sleep in my socks? I remember sliding down the banister, or the baluster, or whatever they're called, and burning my buttocks with the smell of pancakes nearby and arm's reach.
Were revived in this version of the cosmological argument, and so I immediately resonated with it. And this was after having been taught by my theology professors.
Oh, who was that? Get those people rounded up.
In college, that there are no good arguments for the existence of God, that they'd all been refuted, and this argument in particular was much despised. Wallace Matson called it the crude cosmological argument, and yet here Hackett was.
I have a Substack called Boyhood Intuitions. Why?
Going against the current and defending this argument against every conceivable.
He sounds like Robert Kennedy Jr. before the worm takes over.
Objection. And I thought to myself, I have got to settle my mind with respect to this argument. And so I determined that if I could ever do a PhD in philosophy, I would write on the cosmological argument for God's existence. And lo and behold, Professor John Hick at the University of Birmingham accepted that thesis topic, and Jan and I moved to England and
You mean John?
spent a few wonderful years working under Professor Hick on this very argument.
He crawls into a coffin. Beautifully made coffin, made by Amish people. Do they make good coffins.
Out of which 3 books came.
And you spoke about
This is my forever sleep box.
about the intuitive appeal of the argument, or the way that it appeals.
You sleep in your socks? How do you do it?
To our intuitions. I think premise 1 probably feels the most intuitive.
I sleep upside down. It turns out that if you sleep like a bat, upside down actually increases blood flow and you think better.
Everything that begins to exist has a cause. But is it just an argument from intuition, or is there a more rigorous way of grounding those intuitions? What's your case for premise 1?
In the original book, The Kalam Cosmological Argument, I more or less made no attempt to defend premise 1, that everything that begins to exist has a cause. Because it seemed to me that it was so obvious that any attempt to provide an argument for it would be based on premises less obvious than the statement itself. So
that's a matter of tiredness. That's like you're a blue collar worker and you're just so exhausted and filthy. You fall down. That's not the same as you're about to go to bed, Joey. You're like, I think I could call it a night. and you get undressed and you brush your teeth and you just leave your socks on and you look down and you're like, yeah, no, yeah, that. I'll do that. Look, if it's out of exhaustion, you get a pass. If it's out of, like, you're like, further, like, what if you got actually into sleeping socks? You were like, all right, I got to take these dirty boot socks off, throw them on the floor, wait for a woman to pick them up. You know what I'm going to get into, though? I'm going to get in my sleep socks. You know the ones.
It just seemed to me that one just puts that premise out there
that counts, Flavius. Yeah, that counts too. That counts too. That's okay.
Everything that begins to exist has a cause. And if the skeptic wants to deny that premise, then I say he's welcome to do it. He thereby shows himself to be...
Depends on what you mean by exist. I thought I told you to get back in the cave. This is a problem, too, with this argument, is everything that exists has a cause. It doesn't really exhaust what the ontology of everything is. Like, so, does truth exist? Does God exist? Okay, forces the person, in this case, William Lane Craig, into a distinction between created things, in his view, or existing things in the material world, and uncreated things. Well, everything that exists has a cause. Well, hold on a second. Everything?
Someone who's just...
Depends on what you mean by socks. We actually sell sleep socks at Daily Wire. We're really suffering. We pretty much lost 95% of our audience. We're no longer the cool kids on the block, and we're doing everything in our power to desperately cling to the surrounding demographics that seem to be heading toward Catholicism and Orthodoxy. And so in honor of that, we are offering a gold-threaded Bowl and Branch.
Haven't laughed this hard in a while. Thanks, Jodhatlandia.
Thank you, Vagine. Don't come here. So in honor of you to try to reach out, we're actually looking at our demographics. There's a matter of men and women who sleep in their socks. And so Bowl and Branch has done a fabulous job designing brand new sleep socks. Don't be poor. Sleep in your socks. No one needs slippers if you have really nice socks. Buy the golden boot, the golden socks by Bowl and Branch, threaded with 24K legitimate gold thread all throughout the socks. 2,400 thread count right now.
Just interested in...
Oh, God, well, this ship is sinking.
An intellectual refutation of an academic argument and not really...
Okay, sorry. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that, actually. Yeah, everything that begins to exist.
Interested in finding out the truth about reality. Now, since then, I have attempted to articulate 3 arguments in support of the first premise that unpack it a little bit more, but still basically rooted.
I love slippers. Is that gay? I think what made it gay is you telling everybody. Probably. Do I have slippers? No. I try to get into slippers, but like masculine, like loafer slippers, like old man slippers. Like during the winter months. But you realize you don't really need them because you're inside, and why do you need hot feet if you have a heating system? It doesn't make any sense. Oh, look at the crackling fire. I should put stuff on my feet. It doesn't make sense.
Rooted in this metaphysical intuition that out of nothing comes, and therefore something comes.
I mean, who wears slippers for more than like 7 minutes in their house? Oh, slippers, such a great idea. My wife got these last Christmas that are similar to the ones that she got the Christmas before. I better wear them for 7 minutes. I don't like anything. Like, I'm barefoot right now. I don't like... Most of the time I get home from like a day, it's like the least amount of clothes that I can do when it's still okay, basically. Saying presuppositional apologetics was used because someone used tag is like calling Aristotle a Thomist because Aquinas used Aristotelian arguments. Yeah, it doesn't follow. Like, it's a type of genetic fallacy. You're like, it's like appropriation. It's like the people who are like, you braided your hair? You're not allowed to do that. Only black people do that.
Comes into being,
You don't get to ask.
there surely has to be a cause that brings it into being.
Well, Alex, you're welcome to have a stab at the first premise if you want to. Is this a controversial premise for you?
Well, it's. I think my view is more that I have a much more settled view on the second premise, in the sense that I feel more confident in my undercutting replies there.
Look at that face. Jeez, man. How about change your face? What is that? What is that? Rest? That's not even. That's like resting dead face. What are you? Are you about to turn into a vampire? Guys, what is happening? He looks like he just watched like a brutal car crash or something. He looks like he's snuck into a surgery. And he's just looking at them cut open the body. And he's like, I don't know if I like it or not. I'm trying to deal with whether or not disgust is actually a good feeling. He's actually judging his eyebrows. He's like, I thought my eyebrows were wild.
There. With the first premise, I'm very interested.
How'd you get those caterpillars on your eyes?
In exploring the detail and the.
It's because he's about to, lunge over and bite him.
But I'm not going to.
He looks like a 5,000-year-old turtle without a shell.
Straightforwardly say, I'm committed strongly to it being straightforwardly false.
How do I get past? Look, send a super chat. Send a generous super chat. I'll wear socks to bed for a week and I'll tell you how it goes, Joey. That's how you do it. That's how we solve the beef.
But
there
are things I think are worth
1 week. Socks. I'll report.
Worth thinking through. So if I can go into one of these avenues. So there's a philosopher that you and
How does the atheist look more alive in spirit than William Lane Craig? I mean, this is wild.
I both share a common interest in is Arthur Pryor, right? Who is a wonderful philosophical logician working in the 50s and 60s. And
nerd.
He has this paper, Limited Indeterminism, where he engages with an argument from the Calvinist Jonathan Edwards from 1750, something around that time. And Edwards puts...
What is this, a competition in who can be more obscure?
An argument that's very similar to one that you do.
So I found a little book of a philosopher that really unknown from the 17th century. He actually worked as a cobbler's apprentice, but he left behind his books. And I found one of those arguments pretty convincing.
In defense of this premise, which was about, well, if something could begin to exist uncaused, then anything could begin to exist uncaused. And this is where we get this famous, root beer and Beethoven and bicycles could just pop into existence. So Pryor is engaging with Jonathan Edwards' version of that argument. And so, pulling at this little thread here, he complains that Edwards says things like the beginning to exist of a headache, for instance.
Yes.
And Pryor...
you know why, Intel. You know why.
Complains and says, this is kind of a Pickwickish sense of beginning to exist, because really, a headache isn't something that begins to exist.
Begins to exist? Begin. Oh my gosh, I'm screwed. Oh my god, holy cow, dude! This guy really wants me on his side of the socks. Joey Pyle, thank you so much. Holy cow! Can we just get we need all three Kevins for this. Thank you so very much for doing business. I do business on the sidewalk. That is a very generous donation, like the one I left in the public pool. Okay, I'm gonna do it. Full week. So you know what's crazy? You guys are like, that's so much money. I'm gonna tell you, knowing what my experiences is, it's not even worth it. I'm just telling you. You might think like, oh, you're deluded, dude. That's crazy. No, I'm telling you, I'm gonna hate it. And I'm gonna actually say, I promise, in a week, come Monday, I'm gonna say, that wasn't worth it. Guaranteed. I actually don't like it. I don't actually necessarily like that he came through on this.
Rather, what we should...
Guys, this is the most unhappy super chat I've ever experienced.
Do is, there's...
Man. Yeah, see? You're with me. Oh, man. I don't think he's Jewish, no. What do you guys think? Welsh or something? Looks like David Lee Roth. Yeah, there's actually a footage of David Lee Roth, and you're like, this is too close. This is way too close. Socks in bed is demonic. I know. I feel almost like a spiritual, like a disloyalty. I feel like I'm cheating on my feet. Oh man, this is gonna be bad because it's been hot, dude. It's been like 101, 103, 97. Is this Tom Segura? No, this is Alex Malpass, who is an atheist and probably, massive degrees less degenerate than Tom Segura.
It's a head that begins to ache, right? It's not that there's a headache that begins to exist. So sometimes we talk about things beginning to exist, but it's a misleading turn of phrase. And actually, the idea underneath that is that there are something like substances which can undergo changes. And that's the right way to paraphrase away some of the apparent beginnings to exist that we might come across. So for instance, this cup began to exist, but following pulling the thread down, we might say really this underlying material that made up the cup didn't begin to exist, right? The cup is just a rearrangement of material that already existed. And this table, that's the same thing is true of this table. And in fact, all of the humdrum examples of things around us, they're not new substances that appear on the stage.
Actually, as far as eternality of matter, I wouldn't push back yet on what Alex said, but what I would say is point out that he actually admitted that there's an arrangement of matter, that trees and organisms and formations and not just that, but not just what they're made of and how they're formed, but that there is a relationship in how they interact. This is something that he's going to have a problem with, because you can't just look at matter and just accept that things are arranged a certain way. That's ad hoc. You're just accepting things are arranged a certain way. So yeah, the cup isn't a good example because we arranged the cup ourselves. We engineer it. What's in question is the natural world that we see. Is it arranged? Well, no, you can't even use that language. You can't even really say it's arranged. Like that's an active, that's a verb. I arranged something. So the question is, can you have arrangements that maintain their identity and their function and how they interact in the world without some type of an arranger? What justifies that they maintain their, wait for it, essential properties in what they are and what they do? Does that change too? Does that change? Is there any true purpose and function to anything? No. This is one of my key counters to evolution, is that they abide by the arrangement of organisms from a nominalistic view and then grant themselves universal things like lungs or spines or brains or eyes. Is that just an accidental, quote, arrangement? Okay. By what view can you hold an accidental arrangement of highly functional things? How do you do that? Sean Connery down. Oh man, that's brutal, retard. Now that's brutal. He does look like Shane Gillis a little bit, to your point. He kind of does. I like him though. I actually like him. I've learned to like Alex Malpass a lot.
Stuff in reality when they begin to exist. Rather, they're like headaches that begin to ache, or they're heads that begin to ache. And they're the changes in stuff that already existed, right? So in that sense, then, I can agree that the beginning to exist, if you like, of cups and tables and Beethoven and root beer and bicycles,
yes,
they have causes, but then they're not new stuff on the stage of reality. Whereas if we're considering the origin of the universe as, let's suppose that there's a skeptic who says, I think that the universe began to exist with no cause. Material just appears out of nothing, as it were. That's got to be different to the mere rearrangement of pre-existing material that's evident when we consider stuff around us. So that leads me to think that there would be a difference in kind between the humdrum beginnings of things that we see every day and the beginning of the universe, which must be in fact different from that. So I actually
agree with this. This is exactly the argument I use against this position, which is you're actually but this isn't in Alex's favor, actually. Actually, Alex is closer to necessitating God than he thinks. Did you guys grasp what he just said? I'm not assuming you didn't. Like, don't worry. I'm just making sure you're following this, that here, let's play it back. Here, let me put a Socks Week goal up for all of you. Look, I know none of you are getting paid for it, but I would appreciate it if some camaraderie played into this week, and I could have multiple people telling me how Sock Week went. Maybe support group. How's it going? Checking in with you, Jim Bob. I know it's only Tuesday. I know this week's going to be long. You know, please. Matters of metaphysical, i.e. the referent for what is matter is, i.e. physical, non-physical, requires logic and intelligibility of said matter. Yeah, it's a metaphysical reality. Shout out Tom Jump. Reality is reality. No, is that a particular or an aggregate of particulars? Which is it? The universe. What's the universe? Is that singular? Is that plural? Is it abstract? What are we talking about? This guy looks like he was a dwarf, but most still a norm. Yeah, that's probably why I like him. I feel like we have the same category of like a body type. We're like hobbits that are enemies across the hill, but we kind of meet in town for a beer. And we're like, hey, how's it going? You're also have the, you embody a midget too, but you're not. Like, I'm 5'10". People meet me at these events or whatever. They're like, oh, you're not a midget. I'm like, what? Just because my face looks like Peter Dinklage, you just think I'm a midget? Like, the assumptions. Can't do it? Okay, who? No? Oh my gosh. See what I'm saying? And sandals? That's funny. All right, let's just replay what he said, what I think he said. Okay, watch.
I think that the universe began to exist with no cause. Material just appears out of nothing, as it were. That's got to be different to the mere rearrangement of pre-existing material that's evident when we consider stuff around us.
Yes, there's a different category. So every baby that exists comes from another form of what was once a baby. Okay, yeah. Or breakfast tacos. You guys remember breakfast tacos? Stuff comes from stuff. Well, that's true inductively, but it doesn't include all things. And so Alex is right here, and this is kind of how I push back. But the irony here is I push back on this because it actually presses a categorical distinction that's necessary. Alex admits right here in the statement, he's admitting there's a categorical distinction that needs to be made between creation, everything that we have in when we look at it, and the cause that you're claiming caused this can't be identical. You can't use the same principles.
So that leads me to think that there would be a difference in kind between the humdrum beginnings of things that we see every day and the beginning of the universe, which must be in fact different from that. So I want to brush away all of this consideration of bicycles and root beer and bacon.
I think he's confusing ontological causality with creation. I actually think the opposite. I think the argument itself does that. Like, that's kind of how I see this, sincere hypocrite. I don't know. I might have this wrong, but I keep looking at this argument and going, wait a second. Inductively, when we look at the world, creation, it's already here. Everything that comes to being has a cause, begins to exist, has a cause. The universe exists, therefore it has a cause. But it's like, well, no, everything, you're looking at particulars once you have the thing called the universe. You know? It's also making ambiguous what he's referring to as the universe. What's the universe? Is that another particular, like a tree is in a category of trees? Is the universe in the category of universes plural? This kind of matters when you're talking about this because it is a type of, it does assume an ontology of the universe. So that's what's funny, is like you're pointing that out, but that's what I think William Lane Craig's doing. I think he's putting them in the same category.
Because they're Pickwickish in prior sense, right? They're not the metaphysical introduction of material on the stage of reality. That's we've never seen anything like that. I've no experience of that happening. Do you see what I mean?
William Lane Craig, you know those, like, I don't know if they're just artistic sculptures. It's like a bird, like a hummingbird that uses like momentum, and it keeps like putting its beak down and feeding off the... He kind of looks like one of those.
Oh, I do understand what you mean. I've heard this objection from Alex O'Connor and others.
You can have creation from nothing and still have God be what causes the universe, even if he created out of nothing. Oh, is he saying the material itself is distinct from... Like, if you have creation, there's got to be another thing that you're... Like, you know, we say nothing, but we don't... Like, in a sense, God created from his speaking. So there was never nothing. Honestly, nothing is kind of... Honestly, I think nothing is like a silly word. But anyway, is that what you're saying? That he's not talking about the distinction between God, uncreated reality versus created reality, but rather that the reference of nothing in the act of creation? Is that what you're referring to?
I disagree with a lot of the underlying philosophy, but just let me ask you, Alex, if, as you say, the universe is distinct in the sense that it begins to exist in a more absolute sense than do Beethoven and root beer and bicycles, wouldn't that simply strengthen the case for a cause of the universe? Because then the argument could be phrased, if the universe began to exist, then the universe has a cause. Premise 2, the universe began to exist, therefore the universe has a cause, even on your own principles.
Well, but what I mean is that if we wonder why think that the universe, the beginning of the universe requires a cause, what we can't do is say, well, look at Beethoven and bicycles and root beer, they all have causes. Because that's irrelevant, because they're Pickwickish beginnings. What we're talking about is a metaphysical.
I don't know what Pickwish means, but I feel like if I saw it at a draft beer shop, I'd buy it. I think what Alex is saying, and I don't know British terminology, is that all the root beer stuff is once you have existence, once you have the world the way it is, once you have time, space, matter, then you could look at this, all the stuff. That's kind of what I'm saying.
Well, now, again, without disagreeing with that point, one could still ask, couldn't one, why did the universe come into being rather than root beer?
Yeah,
or
sure.
Beethoven, or a gasoline station. And that was Pryor's point.
Yes.
My argument was based on A.N. Pryor.
He looks like a professional bowler. Totally. That's dead on.
Not disagreeing with him. It's an argument, not that every event has a...
He looks like a really, like, elite seagull.
Cause.
You know, like there's a bunch of seagulls just fighting over crab, and he's by the beach just like, the crab? When does the crab become not the crab?
Like a headache.
Just like prissing around.
But everything that
I feel like he's the type of guy who installs one of those wheelchairs up the stairs things, but he doesn't actually need it. He just likes it.
Begins to exist has a cause. Every substance, as you put it, that comes into being has a cause. So the argument is on all fours with A.N. Pryor's view.
A super goal.
And it seems to me that even if I agree with your metaphysics of substance and so forth, the case of the universe is so distinctive that it would actually strengthen the case for a transcendent cause.
I'm still with Alex on this. But I don't think it strengthens Alex's position. Like I'm that's funny. It's like I'm actually with Alex on his contention, but his contention actually supports this new category that can't be identical to space, time, and matter, temporality, and all this stuff.
Pryor argued, and as you know, he says prior to the universe's existence, there wasn't.
Even if the, quote, universe always existed, the intelligibility of said universe must be justified. Yes, the atheist would have to hold. Yeah, that's why I don't think it's a great, like, you have to incorporate the invisible. There's a reason that's in our creed. you have to incorporate the invisible because you have to justify the invisible. The transcendentals. Even in a universe that was static, that didn't move, there was no causality, you'd still have the law of identity. Without regularity, without the ability to do science and like test things and manipulate matter and repeat things and see what happens, right? If it was a purely static universe that was in an infinite pause, Chase would be right here, that you'd still have a question about the ontology, the justification for things like the laws of thought, logic, law of identity, you don't need to go to regularity in that case. But that regularity of nature is another one that doesn't have a justification from the atheist view.
There isn't any sort of nature that could determine that only universes can pop into being out of nothing, rather than root beer and Beethoven and bicycles. As I say rather facetiously or tongue-in-cheek, what makes nothingness so discriminatory?
Right. I'm scared. I'm actually scared. Right. You're actually scaring me.
So wouldn't the argument still go through?
Well, so there's another point of agreement between us. So I was just reading your systematic theology this morning, obviously, in preparation for this discussion.
Good morning reading.
He does look like Palpatine.
Systematic theology.
Nice word.
Shut up, dork.
This would be volume 2B,
yes,
which is an excursus on natural theology, including the Kalam argument.
That's right.
And interacts extensively with Alex's work.
Well, that's true. Thank you. Thank you very much for that. That's very my honor that you did mention my work in that. But there was a point there where you, and I'm fully in agreement with you, we hold hands in this part of it, where you complain that there are some physicists like Lawrence Krauss, who makes this kind of...
Dude, Lawrence Krauss is the worst. If I was an atheist, I would be like, no, he's not on our team. Get him out of here. He's a freak.
Grammatical...
I'd get him so far away from my atheistic cult.
Confusion about treating... So here's the idea, is that there's this term nothing, and sometimes it's treated as if it's a simple referring term.
Right.
Like, for instance, if I open the fridge and I say, hey, there's nothing in the fridge, right? What I'm not doing is using the term nothing as if it's a term that...
Positive. It has no positive ontology.
Picks out something that's in the fridge, a kind of empty, void thing that's in the fridge. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying all the things that there are outside the fridge, right? That's what it means. So the term nothing on the surface level, grammatically, it looks like a referring term, right? But like...
Look at that face, dude. Bro. Dude, I might have to make a cartoon. It's just so much work to make a cartoon. That face, though. I just want him creeping on everyone. I want him to go to 7-Eleven. He's just over the shoulder if someone is just getting a crappy hot dog. He's walking around in a robe. He's going bowling. There's so much you can do with this character. Look at that face. I can't even do it. Imagine I'm standing in your room. I just am fascinated. As a boy, my boyish intuitions are popping up again.
Russell shows us on denoting with definite descriptions the surface grammar of...
Hi, I'm Chris Hansen.
This term looks like...
Hi, I'm William Lane Craig. Did you send this? Did you make these comments on my blog?
It's a referring term, but it has a deeper logical form.
That's actually a really funny skit. It's just someone on their phone, they're totally innocent. They're not trying to meet up with an underage person. They're just on their phone online. And he comes out of the closet. He's like, hi, I'm William Lane Craig. What are you doing in my house? I have some comments here from my YouTube. Are these from you?
So it's some combination of quantifiers, and it's an expression that works differently logically, right? So something
and the reference here, for our listeners' sake, is to Bertrand Russell's paper on denoting.
Yes, that's right. On denoting, kind of inaugural paper of analytic philosophy at the beginning of the 20th century. So the idea is supposed to be that when somebody says there's nothing in the fridge, or I saw nothing on the TV last night, something like that, what they mean is something like, everything is outside the fridge, right? For all the things that there are, they're not in the fridge. So we have an existential quantifier and a universal quantifier, and we move the negation across to the other side of the predicate, whatever. It doesn't matter the exact details for this kind of show, but the point is that it operates differently, grammatically speaking. And as you point out in the book, this can be a kind of...
We have the chat logs. I got this. Screenshots.
This is a joke, you know, like I saw nothing on the TV last night. Oh, was it any good? Kind of thing, right? Then the joke works because it's like exploiting the different grammatical and deeper logical structure. Oh, I mean, it doesn't make it funny when you explain the joke, but...
Do we like Dan Blazarian? Not really. Like, there's people who are right-wing, even Christian, even Orthodox Christian, the only true Christian, who are like, no, we can ally with him. But he's such a muzzy. He's such a muzzy lover. Am I allowed to say that? He's a dum-dum. He doesn't even know what he wants, that guy. He doesn't know what he wants. There's a picture of him reading the Quran. It's like upside down. He doesn't even know he's reading it upside down. I'm in the Quran now. It's so peaceful.
We all get it intuitively. Now, anyway, bringing it back to what we're talking about. I agree with you there. So if somebody says, like Krauss says something like, nothing can give rise to a universe or something. Now, in that sentence, he's treating nothing as if it's a referring term.
Yes.
Pick something out, and that does something, right? As if it has some causal power or properties of some description. I agree with you that that's like, grammatically or logically confused to talk.
No, he's not even close to Christian. He's not even heterodox, like colloquial Christian.
Like that. What we should do instead is to treat it as I was doing, where you paraphrase it into, for all things that there are, it's not whatever the property was. Everything's outside the fridge kind of thing. But then it seems to me that flip a few pages along in the book, you then, I think, make the mistake again. You talk like Krauss does, because you say, well, how could nothingness discriminate between making universes or making Beethoven?
No, that's why I said a moment ago, Alex, speaking facetiously.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in a sense, like, because nothing's impossible, eternality of something is necessary. So you do get some sort of infinite, if you're going to use the term infinite, but the problem is you still have to escape time, space, matter in this argument. So it's like, it's kind of meaningless to be like, how something come from nothing? Well, God existing isn't nothing. So eternally uncreated being with intentionality who can justify the transcendental category that also exists in creation, not as physical things, invisible, the invisible. This is why we attack, when we argue, we actually attack the opposition's incapability of justifying the invisibility in nature. This all falls apart, and they're just kind of like playing a ping pong game that isn't really getting to the core of it. And the core of it is you can't just grant all of these things. You can't just be like, take a physical approach to nature and the universe and say, look at stuff. Stuff habitually comes from other things. You would agree with that, wouldn't you? I've got a lot of robes. Slippers. Cashmere. Cashmere. Imagine William Lane Craig doing a cashmere commercial for cashmere. That's an AI project, dude. William Lane Craig doing various irrelevant, right, products. Cashmere scarves. Cufflinks. Slippers. And it's just like a series of him like turning around. Hi. This guy's skin is not his own. Dude, it's intense. That's intense. Like, the only reason this guy didn't become Catholic is because he knows how much more horrific he would look in the get-up with like the white collar. Like, people would just be like, I'm out of here. They should thank him.
I recognize an uncreated energy that is necessary For even for nothing to exist necessitates truth, and thus something exists and therefore requires logic to exist. For there to be no thing requires a something, and that something would be immaterial but in a form that is truth.
Yeah.
Therefore the three classical laws of logic are met. John 14:6 I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Jace K.
Thank you, Jace. Amen. Yeah, I think that comes to like things being contingent on other things. Which is like, oh, this thing exists, but it's dependent on another thing existing. And that thing exists, and it's dependent on another thing existence. And you just keep going back, and the only way to escape it is necessitating the end of endless regress and a non-dependent entity, at least to start. Well, what is that? I mean, a non-dependent entity annihilates, or let's say doesn't annihilate, escapes every other way in which we categorize things. So it can't. It's why people like reject the kind of interesting thing is a lot of people reject God. At least I did in my mid-20s because of the inability to conceive God. Isn't that interesting? That if you reject God because God is inconceivable, his exhaustive nature is inconceivable, you reject what's inconceivable, and you're like, I just need to stick to conceivable things. It's an interesting reason to reject God, being that if God exists, he would be inconceivable to that level. He wouldn't, his nature couldn't be fully knowable and exhausted. But what you could know is the person. Hence this distinction. JB, you heard of Jimmy Talks? I would like to see you react to some of his take. Jimmy Talks. Is that an atheist? What is that? Who is that? Who is that? William Lane Craig is the Jared Taylor. That's funny. He is kind of like Jared Taylor. Jimmy Talks. Let me actually take a look. He sounds like an atheist, though. That sounds like an atheist name. 99,000 subs? Well. Okay. Zionism. Deport. Okay. I'll give him a follow. Let me review some things before I bring it up on my stream. I studied every religion, and this one makes sense. Oh, he's shooting guns. Even though if it's video games, I'm not gonna try it. But thank you. I just subbed to him. Okay. Thank you so much. Nice. Looks like a fun channel. Appreciate that. Yeah, he seems pretty based. I like it. I hope he came to the conclusion that orthodoxy is true. Hopefully.
Imagine, if you will, that instead of being in this conference room, I was instead in your private abode, and in a manner quite mystifying, I conducted myself as if there were no material reason that you ought to be alarmed by my uninvited presence. That would be quite the anecdote to recount among your compatriots, wouldn't it? No. WLC.
Thank you, William Lane Craig. My boyish intuitions. I have boyish intuitions. Father Stephen DeYoung says, William Lane Craig is the omni-heretic on every possible doctrine he chooses. Yeah, he's almost a blessing. It's like the ultimate litmus test referent for every, quote, denomination, isn't it? How is he anyway, Father Stephen DeYoung? I hope he's doing good. Isn't he writing a book or something? I have this fear that he was, kind of a fan and in the chat, and maybe I don't know. Maybe I said the N-word, or maybe I used the F-word too many times, You never know. I don't know. Who am I? That's okay. He's fractally wrong. That's funny. He's fractally wrong. That's funny. No, that's a blessing, though, because it's like, okay, here's what we can all agree is wild. Tomorrow, I have an evolution debate against axiomatic reasoning. Should be good. He seems like a well-composed individual. I appreciate that. I do. When they're well-composed, I'm pretty well-composed. Not always, but mostly. So, that's good. All right. I have 5 minutes left. It's 4 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead and try to turbo you guys through with 5 minutes. See if we can leave on a 10 out of 10 goal, y'all. And I'll move you over to Jay Dyer. It kind of, honestly, it kind of annoyed me. I got to be honest. I know that, like, super amount of views isn't ultimately that important. But when I looked at that guy, and he had 12,000 people in his live stream, and he's doing bad argumentation, I got a little annoyed. Because I was like, I didn't think that should be me. But I did think of Jay. I was like, this guy's been doing it for 20-something years. You know? He's just breaking 2,000 in his live chat now. I mean, I'm glad for him. That's a pretty good spot to be, actually. If you hit like 5, it saturates the chat, and then you don't get your culture anymore. It's basically like immigration. That's why I'm strict in my chat. It might sound like a cope, but I'm like, I'm glad I have a relatively small chat. That's what I planned on doing. But I do kind of see it like immigration. You drop down the gates, they come out of some other country, right? They call it a raid, but some other country invades your chat. You think it's a good thing? And you're like, wait, what? Wait, what? What just happened? You can't go from like a really nice, intimate 500, 700, maybe 1,000 to like 3,000, 5,000. That's unmanageable. 2 out of 10. Let's see. 3 minutes. Let's do a quick train, you guys. Send me on my way. I get it. You guys think, oh, because there was such a massive chat for me to wear socks all week, you don't have to do anything? Don't think like that. I have to wear socks all week. You aren't. You're not wearing socks all week. Sleeping in socks. Whatever, you guys. You guys are a bunch of hypocrites. Unbelievable. I told he needs to talk to the chat much more. He needs to engage with the chat much more. You should. It's fun. I mean, you get gold in the chat. Like, you'll find like a nugget in the chat that you're so glad. Even after, I'll go back to the chat on a stream and I'll find something that's so funny. Someone will say something so funny that I missed, and I'm like, damn. John Mandragon, thank you so much. Appreciate that, Brennan. See? We got some good participants. I got you. Thank you so much. 2 minutes. Aggressive. 5 in 2 minutes? Ooh, that's asking a lot. That's asking a whole lot. Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah. Do I like a fat super chat? Of course. Do I like what I have to do? No. No, I didn't think he was going to do it. Damn guy. I didn't ask for this. Well, I actually did ask for it. I gave him the proposal thinking, I'm not wearing socks to bed. 4 more. Minute and 30. 3 more. It's going to take Jim Bob 30 minutes and an hour to change his sock. It's awful. None of my kids do either. No one in my family. I should do a diary of it too, just to help you guys out. That's right. Thank you so much. 2 more. Thank you so much, y'all. All right, let's take a look. The meanie pants. I'll wear them with sandals in the bed. No. No. I'm so grossed out already. You know what you guys know what I'm going to have to do? I'm going to have to pull up the blanket at the tail end, at the foot end, and at least have my feet not covered. That's even weirder. I'm going to start feeling like William Lane Craig. 30 seconds, one more, smash the goal. Who gonna do it? Thank you so much, Mr. Hickcock. Are you, wait, am I thanking you because you're gonna do this with me? One more, there we go. Thank you, Darth Grumpy Dad. Thank you guys so much. I hate ending on a empty. When it just says like, 8 out of 10. I don't like it. Danke shame. All right. So yeah, tomorrow I'll do probably a short stream, maybe even a prep stream, looking at this guy's tactics. Little prep Evo stream. And yes, you will have fully aggressive Jim Bob in proper form with your favorite debate topic that I do. I know what you guys like. I know what I like. I like debating against Evo tards. That's what I like. And that's what I'm going to do. Boyish intuitions. I know. I think you'd see it's going to bother Megan. It's actually going to bother her. Maybe I'll make her do it with me. William Lane Craig smile. It's not just any smile. It's a WLC smile. You're welcome. I was learning water gilding. I brought up YouTube on my living room TV. Megan's all, what are you watching? I'm like, water gilding. She's like, what? Okay. I'm pumped. I might even start it on my next icon. I'm getting pretty pumped about it. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no good time to start practicing something that requires mastery. You just start, just go for it. Yeah, well, no, I can't agree to Megan for that. I'm not going to put that on the table. That would be funny, though. Water gilding. It's like you use the bowl clay and you cover. I watched it for framing, actually. Gold leafing framing. It's a great skill to learn. I think everyone should learn how to water gild. I will tell you one thing before I leave here is a type of water gilding that I thought was beautifully appropriate to Orthodox iconography is that once you lay the clay down, which is like a red clay mixed with water and rabbit's glue, and you file it down and you burnish it down so it's nice and smooth, you actually breathe on it with your hot breath. I was like, that is just perfect for Orthodoxy, isn't it? You breathe in, like you breathe onto the icon before you lay the gold leaf. I just thought that was nice. Anyway. Boyish intuitions. I'd still have a scotch with him, though. I'd just keep my distance. 2 chairs away. Can I get closer? No. I thought you said gilding. I don't know what that is. It sounds gross. Gilding. What is that, some sort of move that I'm supposed to know about? Is that a move? Boyish intuitions. Boyish into. Oh, look at that. Glory to God. Making iconographers. Look, my job is to convert people and make them into iconographers. I will have my first icon class in a few months. I have not drawn anything in 10 years. How beautiful. It scares me how good you are already. Oh, just don't even think about it, dude. The beauty of iconography is that when you just follow the constraints and the rules, and you'll get better at the techniques knowing that you're completely constrained. You know what I mean? And pray. You'll hear from iconographers. Talk to Justin someday. We're convinced that we're capable of doing things we're not really, based on our own our own development, based on what we're doing before. We look at a finished icon and we go, I can't do that. That didn't actually just come from me. And that's a cool part about it. No, it's awesome. Not you're doing, oh, even better. That's awesome. Yeah, get going on that. I think that's it. I'll keep you posted. My next gesso board arrives next week. When I do, God willing, have a larger place where I'm not streaming from the edge of my bed, I'm going to actually produce gesso boards and do videos, so show you guys the process of producing them. So, pretty exciting. Gelding a horse's castration. Oh, gelding. Now I'm going to use that. Gelding. Water gelding. What does that look like? Water gelding. Boyish intuitions. Boyish, what begins to exist has a beginning. I'll see you later tonight in your walk-in closet. Imagine you hear the faint mumbling arguments of William Lane Craig in your closet. Closed door, though. It's just kind of muffled. Boyish intuitions. All right, y'all. God bless every one of you. I'll talk to you guys tomorrow. I'll do a little pre-stream, and then we have the 7 p.m. debate. My favorite debate ever. With that, I will say good day to you all. Adios.
Jimmy crack corn and I don't really care no more. What he gotta say, it's irrelevant. Once upon a time, could have been a partner of mine. Now he's getting checks from the government. I don't care where your idol stands, protecting his hands from culture jams with the oven. It's another soldier got caught, all ain't what you thought. Nothing here is done for the fun of it. I don't care what you say, I'm on some new shit. I don't care if you're digging what I'm doing. I don't care what you think about my music. I don't care, you're not the reason I do this. Always going. I don't care if I die without you knowing. Tried to catch your eye for a stint until I realized what that meant. Jimmy crack corn and I don't really care no more. What he gotta say, it's irrelevant. Once upon a time, could have been a partner of mine. Now he's getting checks from the government. I don't care where your idol stands, protecting his hands from culture jams with the oven. That's another soldier got caught, all ain't what you thought. Nothing here is done for the fun of it. I don't care what you say, I'm on some new shit. I don't care if you're digging what I'm doing. I don't care what you think about my music. I don't care, you're not the reason I do this. Always going. I don't care if I die without you knowing. Tried to catch your eye for a stint until I realized what that meant.